We're just streaming into the void.
Yeah. For
That's
30
so
minutes we were
weird.
streaming into the void.
That was so weird. Yeah, look, we're live. I've got everything in the bottom right. Yeah, live, 26 seconds. CPU, network speed. I don't know what the fuck happened last time. So weird.
I feel like we just touched an artifact and lost half an hour of our life.
Yeah, that was really
staring into
fucking weird.
space-time.
That was so odd. And it's like it just refreshed. It's like OBS just realized because my screen like did like a weird like wipe thing. And then it just like was just not there. It's just like, yeah, you're not live anymore. And you haven't been live the entire time.
By the way, you've wasted your time.
Fucking hell. I know it's hot, laptop, but Jesus Christ. All right. Okay, I can see your message there. If you've done that just to test we're live.
I have.
We've had a blunder, everyone.
Okay. Am I doing a load of buffering? I feel like I am.
You are a little bit, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there.
It might be the ultra. It might be that. Was it doing that last week? I can't remember.
No. Hi, Timmer. We did a bad, mate. We weren't live this whole time, were we, Tim? Because I think OBS has said we've been live for the last like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and we've just been talking into the void. And then it just did some weird like glitch thing, and then it was just like, nah, you're not live. And so we're just starting again, apparently. So that's,
you might say that the content we just made got sucked into a black hole.
Yeah.
It's been turned into stardust.
Stardust.
It's all
nice.
It's all dark matter now.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it was a glitch. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it didn't. OBS didn't sort of like refresh and stop the stream until like half an hour in, when it realized we weren't. So I don't know what was going on, but it's all been lost to the ether. But yeah, that's a little bit annoying, but it's a good thing we noticed only half an hour in. I say noticed. I could not notice my laptop looked like it was having a seizure.
Could you imagine? Tim, can you jingle us out of the show? You click over to OBS and it's just not. It's just not running.
Jesus, dude. That would be such a nightmare. Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll just have to go again. Anyway, yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to episode 113. For those of you listening to this for the first time, we've already done this, so this intro might be a little passive-aggressive for anyone listening. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties there, but I'll let Deck intro the show as per usual.
Yeah, it's a shame. We lost half an hour of good old Starfield conversation. So we're just going to go through this again. But if you're joining us for the first time, my name's Deck. That's Tim.
Hello again.
And we had a quick resume podcast. This is bullshit. This bullshit. This is.
Yeah. Okay, so TLDR, what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Tim hates Starfield.
Yeah, I am not. I wouldn't say I'm underwhelmed. I guess I am underwhelmed by Starfield. I think it's great. Like very great. I'm gonna stop the jingle now because we're just getting straight into it. And I'm like 20 hours in, like I was saying, and I think I would probably, if I were to score it, which I'm not going to because I'm not going to put a score in it until I'm done with it. But my sort of vibe as of now is probably like an 8 out of 10. So still a very good score. I'm still very much enjoying it. I just have my little issues and sort of quirks with the game. Being similar to a lot of people, the little chippy choppy loading screens and docking and undocking, landing and taking off, and then loading into a ship, you know, when you actually click on the doors, all that sort of stuff, I feel like breaks apart my immersion a little bit, especially on like long playthroughs, which is something I mentioned before. I feel like it just kind of grinds on me a little bit. Um, and yeah, just little things. We also discussed the perks. I felt were a little bit underwhelming. At least like from the ones I've seen. Obviously, I haven't looked through every single perk and stuff like that. You have your boring ones to help you survey and do all that with the environment and stuff like that. But I mean, just in terms of like the upgrades, like my pistol tree, for example, I was saying it would have been cool to see like the capstone be something like you can dual wield pistols, but like you can only dual wield certain types of pistols, or you have to mix and match, you know, so you can't just have like two like high powered revolvers, which is obviously just probably too much DPS for the game. Like it would make the game quite trivial. But like you can mix like a DPS like revolver with a sort of more like a .27 like caliber pistol or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool and sort of go into like the that sort of fantasy of being like a space cowboy kind of thing. But
Just to confirm, your capstone on the pistol one is
yeah.
25% crit hit chance 5 seconds after kill.
Oh, okay, so it's that one. Yeah. Yeah, so it's it wasn't quite what I thought it was, but yeah, it's they're kind of fine. Like I sort of read that and I don't get really excited by it, sort of thing. I feel like it could probably be something a little cooler. I guess it helps with the whole like chaining together kills and stuff like that. But even just like a luck in a chamber, I was saying could be kind of cool. Just like because I like use a lot of high powered revolvers and stuff like that. Just having like one random bullet in my mag has like 200% damage or something like that could be kind of sweet. Just hit like that lucky shot, like the money shot for like Salvador or something like that off Borderlands.
Is,
Um,
isn't that pretty much what crit hit chance is?
yeah, but like it's like a guaranteed, but it's not. It's 25%, and I need to chain together kills. It's not the same. Like I'm talking like just one like super bullet that will blow someone's head off. Like like
Super bullet.
like one bullet in my mag is just like I'm just shooting. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm chipping away. He's dead. Blew his head off. I hit my luck in the chamber. Done. You know, that sort of thing. That could be kind of cool. And yeah, but yeah, they're fine. Like by no means are they bad. But and yeah, I think of the rifle one or the shotgun one and stuff like that. I looked at them and they're relatively similar in their sort of capstones. There's nothing groundbreaking there. There's nothing um yeah, like too exciting, and I can't wait to get there, sort of thing. Um and yeah, that was, but
Are
those
you
are
just talking about the
basically
combat ones?
yeah. So I'm talking about the combat ones, but I'm talking about like I've looked through some of the other ones in general. Like I was saying, like a lot of the geology ones didn't really interest me and stuff like that, and especially ones based around like food and stuff like that, because food is just like what is food in this game? Like they've done like a whole system behind it, but it's so annoying.
It's
If you
alchemy.
if you were to spec into food in this game, you would spend 99% of your time in a fucking menu. Um, because they only give you buffs for like 2 minutes or a minute or 3 minutes or something like that. They weigh for some reason. They weigh like zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.4, which is annoying. Um, and it's just like, why would you go through all the effort of, well, either picking up loads of individual bits of food or crafting and creating food just to get really, really small buffs? Like, I feel like if it was like something like, you know, increased oxygen capacity for 20 minutes or something like that, I think I'd be a little bit more interested in it. But like, man, I'm not even going to glance at something that gives me 10% more O2 for 2 minutes. Like, I'm not going to go in my
I
menu
have
and
found
eat
some
that.
that have done stuff like that.
Okay,
I
so
have
if there are
found
some
stuff.
ones
There's a
better,
rarity system.
okay, so if there are ones better,
That's all it is.
then but then again, you're still, by the time you reach that point, you're gonna have to invest so many points into that skill to craft these sort of food items, and you have to have probably all the late game materials and stuff like that before you actually start hitting any kind of food or drink that actually gives you buffs that are worth your time, so to speak. And it's still that, you know, you're basically the end of the game by the time you reach a point like that. So it's still quite an underwhelming part of the game. I feel like they need to tweak food a little bit. I feel like you can make it quite cool. It kind of does nothing
It's just
at the
alchemy.
moment. Yeah. But like potion, I feel like they did potions better. Like in the other ones, the effects lasted a bit longer. I still, and if I'm honest, I didn't even use it in Skyrim or anything like that either. So in my eyes, they've never really nailed it. But yeah, just buffs for longer. I don't think they need to change much. Just make it 10 minutes instead of 3 minutes or something like that. You know, like lots of other games do it. You know, like you drink the experience booster things, or you drink like increase stamina for the next 10 minutes or something like that. There were some games we were playing recently that do that. Might have been Remnant. A lot of the Remnant buffs, the ones that you eat, they last for ages, don't they? They last for like 10 minutes or like 15 minutes or something like that. You know, that's all I'm asking for, just to make it a little bit more worth my time. But yeah, so those are sort of my main gripes with the game. And also the lack of like UI and them explaining stuff to you. We were talking about like ship combat. I even know there were fucking thrusters that can help me right angle turn. The game's never explained it to me. There's no UI to indicate this in any way. Stealth just isn't a thing unless you put a point into it, which I guess is fair enough, but I still expect there to be some form of something. You know, I'm getting spotted like a mile off even though I'm crouching. Like I just feel like it's a bit weird and it doesn't feel right in the game. Like he shouldn't be able to see
It's
or
quite
hear
funny.
me. But
It's quite funny you mentioned it because the IGN 7, that was one of the things the guy listed. Bear in mind, he played it for I don't know how many hours, presumably like 50, 60 to complete the game or whatever. He said in his final review, there's no stealth in this game.
yeah.
Like he never figured
Oh
out
no,
when you needed a point.
I'm fully aware I knew there was a stealth skill, but I just find it weird that there's absolutely nothing until you put at least a point in it. Like I'm like just circling around this compound like high up, crouching, all mind you, and then suddenly the whole fucking place just goes on high alert. And I'm like a mile off, and I just think that's just a bit weird. It just feels weird to me. It doesn't feel right. Um, I'm not asking that I should be able to walk up to people if I'm crouched and butt them in the back. You know, like I get I need to put points in to do that, but like it's just so drastic. It's like it's just weird.
I think now that I think about it, actually, because the thing is, yeah, if you read the stealth, the first stealth point gives you quite a lot, and more importantly, it gives you a stealth bar. I think actually you probably can stealth around, but it's probably quite hard. But you also don't know when people are hearing you and not. So like you don't know when to slow down and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So you're probably crouching too fast, and then people are hearing you.
Oh, yeah, people just hear you. There's nothing. Like, I've had people with their backs fully turned to me. Like they're just not even facing me, and they're far away, and then they just go aggro, and I'm not even moving. Just weird, and it's fine. I get it. I'll put a point in stealth. It's not the end of the world, but it's just so drastic. It's just like one or the other, and I just find it a little bit weird sometimes. And yeah, the game doesn't explain it to you. And you know, coming from Bethesda games in the past, you think there's something there, and there is. But yeah, I don't know. Even if it's just like for the first time you crouch or something like that, or you crouch in combat, it just comes up with a little message, just like, oh, by the way, you can stealth in this game. You just need to put a point in it, and then you get this little icon. You don't have this icon; people are going to see you. You want to be a ninja? Do this. But no, it's just like nothing.
Yeah, there are plenty of readability and navigation issues, and that's why people mention it. Like the beginning of the game can be a bit rough because that shit just isn't explained to you. Eventually, it starts coming together and it starts making sense. But like you say, if you're playing a Bethesda game, it is kind of intuitive that if you crouch, you will stealth, and that just doesn't happen here. It is there, but you know, yeah, as I was saying before, it is just a bit more of a hardcore RPG where you do need to put points to get some basic things. Like, you know, if you you're not the chosen one, you know, it's a kind of a different sort of approach. So, but yeah, the readability side of it, I don't disagree with.
You do give chosen one vibes still in this game.
You just happen to touch the artifact first.
Yeah.
I mean, like Barrett did as well. Barrett touched the artifact first, and he had a vision too. You know, they go out their way to tell you you're not the only one who's done this.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, so that's basically me with Starfield, but still having a good time, nonetheless.
Yeah, And one of the things as well, like I don't know if I can't remember if you touched it here, but you said before when we were speaking to the void that the frequency of loading screens can bog
Yeah.
down the experience sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was saying that it does depend on your tolerance to that, but it also does depend on what you're doing. Like I really think, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but I really think there are some people who have booted up this game, done the first mission, opened up the galaxy map, and just fast traveled to random planets, like random
Oh
points
no,
on
I've never
planets,
done
and
that.
then they do the procedural generation stuff, and they're like, okay, that was fine, and then they do it. They go to another planet and they do it again. They go, okay, that was fine, and they do it again. They go, where's the good stuff? Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, you could do that in a Skyrim or a Fallout because you're guided by your eyes and what's in front of you. But in Starfield, you kind of need to be guided a little bit until you start getting this steady stream of side quests. And again, that is an architectural problem with the game, you could argue. I haven't run into that problem personally. I really haven't found that to be an issue. I have a high tolerance to loading screens. We all used to sit through lots of loading screens. I don't mind it that much. I can understand why someone would, for sure. But the way they design the game is, it's so big and there are so many planets. Like, of course, they're not all the same one big planet, like Tamriel is in Skyrim or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get it.
So, and I think especially if you're doing that sort of thing, or if you're a waypoint gamer, as I described in a tweet yesterday, someone who just who's not really there for the role play, not really there for the roses, just hopping from point to point to point. I think it's also going to bog down the experience as well. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to play that way. It's just that this game is particularly punishing for people who who do want to play that way. And again, that doesn't speak to everyone, because our friend Caden, I spoke to him the other day, John the Pie, and asked him how he's getting on, and he's like loving it, like really loving it, and I wasn't anticipating that at all, because he's a waypoint gamer, and I spoke to him about like what he's doing and if he's exploring. He's like, no, I'm just hopping from point to point. And it's not bothering him, like the kind of fragmentedness as people keep describing it. So it's a tolerance thing, and I can absolutely understand why it would be bothersome, especially if some of the payoff hasn't been worth a lot of the travel for you yet. And Tim was saying he's just gotten to the point in the story where you get your first thing.
Yes.
You all know what I'm talking about if you've gotten that far. And like, I would advise anyone who's like just playing it, just mainline the story until you get the thing, and you'll know what I mean by that when the time comes. A lot of stuff opens up after that, and the game gives you more routes to find more things and explore more things. So
it's but yeah, it's also as I say, like I don't, the sort of fragmented part of it, I don't seem to mind as I'm sort of early in my session and stuff like that. But if I'm playing for like 4 or 5 hours, that's when it starts to wear on me a little bit. And especially when you are dipping into side quests and stuff like that, because not all side quests are going to be exciting, not all side quests are going to have like a really good payoff. And if you're going through all these little cutscenes and loading screens and all that kind of stuff, and it's very fragmented, you jump in here, you jump in there, you jumping back, and then it doesn't really come to anything, or you didn't really enjoy that side quest, it just feels like it's a little bit more annoying, that you went through all that, and not that you went through all that, but like you know what I mean. But it just kind of wears at me a little bit. I feel like the game is just always gradually chipping away at me, and like 5 hours in, and I'm just like, I actually kind of just I don't want to dock here. Like I can't see that again. I can't do it. I'm just gonna go somewhere else. Like
but I think it's a real like a real great part of the game, I think, is that it gives you so many options. Like, there are times where I've been like, I've done a lot of dialogue now, and I've been in like a major city doing this like long quest line, and this has been great, but I'm ready for like a bit of a SWAT change up. And I just chose a random planet on the planet and just plopped myself down. It was gorgeous. It was an ice planet. There was this like Saturn ass thing, like really close. I took a screenshot of it. Then what happened? A ship came down. Oh, it's just a ship. I hear them loads of times. I'm just going to go and like wander off and do something, because I just want to wander around in an open space and just, see what kind of happens. Maybe I'll go to one of the procedural generated stuff. The ship lands. Oh, it's the wanted crew. What's been happening with them? I keep getting invaded by them. And then other wanted, other bounty hunters will turn up and defend me and say, "We're waiting for your bounty to get fat, you big fat fucking pig.
Yeah.
Your bounty's getting big, and we want it to get bigger." So that's been going on for like 10 hours of gameplay. These guys land and they're like because it's really low ground. They're like bouncing over the fucking glaciers of the planet to get to me, and they finally get to me. And they're like, "Yeah, you've got nice and big now." So I fucking clean them up, go into their ship, take all their stuff, find this wicked weapon, and and then I ended up just like exploring the rest of the planet. And I think I did a procedural thing, which was fun as well. And that was like, I think once you realize that there's kind of a hierarchy to the gameplay loop, like you have your main quests, which are your traditional stuff, long-term quests with heavy in the dialogue and variety in gameplay, and then there's more medium and short-term stuff. Like if you just want to go and shoot something, go to a planet, go to a quest. Like you can do that if you want to. That's not going to be the whole loop, but you can break up your gameplay. You just want to go and get a bit of loot, you can do that. You want to go and explore, you just want to go to a far off solar system and just see what's there, you can do that. And I found that very enticing to keep me playing. Like I'm not stuck doing the same thing at the same pace.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I do get that as well, because I've done a healthy mix of everything. In fact, probably a little bit less of the main story than I should have. And I've probably been doing some more sides than usual. But there is a nice healthy mix there to keep you interested, and there's something to appeal to whatever role play or fantasy you're going with. I know that I mentioned I was part of the Freestar Collective, and I'm like a sort of space cowboy sort of thing, space sheriff, all that kind of stuff. You hate those guys, and you're part of the UC space corporation sort of thing.
I started the UC, and now I'm also doing the Ryogen. I think I'm going to just do the Ryogen Industries first.
Yeah. So so we're going down different paths, depending on.
Wait, have you been to Neon yet?
Have I been what?
Have you been to Neon?
Neon? I don't know. Describe it to me. I wouldn't know it by name.
It's the cyberpunky massive city.
I don't think so. No, I don't think I've been there.
You haven't been to Neon.
I've had the option to join
cities...
to Reiku or whatever and apply for like a job there and get a job there, but no, I haven't actually been there. Which I'm guessing is right up your alley, because obviously you're techie boy, aren't you? So yeah, kind of makes sense. But yeah, no, there's definitely something for everyone. And I'm sure this game's going to get better as I play it. But then, yeah, it's kind of obnoxious that this game that I have to essentially just spend so much time on and be the only game I'm playing right now to sort of get my full enjoyment out of it. Starfield is very much one of those games. So yeah, can't be juggling.
I would advise doing the first mission of the Vanguard. Just do the first one. It doesn't make you join the faction. You can just do it. It's like a really nice introduction to just the universe. Okay. Like it tells you about the history of the world, like in a really cool way. So, yeah. Hi, Tavish.
All right, cool.
What's up, man?
Hi, Tavish. Yeah. I went to jail, and then they tried to cut me a deal, and they wanted me to go like undercover at like the fleet. Crimson Fleet or whatever.
Yeah, the Crimson Fleet. Yeah.
I've just chinned that off for now. Because I don't want to be no space government bitch. I go by my own law.
Space government bitch. Oh my god! Fuck the Freestar Collective. They're so annoying.
Why are they so annoying? They just they just fucking collect bounties and
self-righteous assholes. They're so annoying. Sam can fucking do one. I hate him so much. If I can kill him, I'm gonna kill him.
Oh, I'll fucking kill you.
He's such a goody. Stick up his ass.
He's not goody.
I love Sarah.
Which one's Sarah? Which one is Sarah? Again? Is she the main one?
Yeah.
All right, I don't know everyone by name. Don't give me that fucking
I
look.
didn't say everyone. I asked for the main character in the game.
God, I don't know her name. She's just some white girl. Her name could be Brittany for all I know. I don't fucking know. But yeah, all right, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you precious fucking Sarah.
Yeah, you should be.
Sarah, I just
Should be
skip her
sorry.
dialogue and give her an artifact every now and again. I don't give a shit. I'm
Yeah, I
kidding.
bet
I
you
don't do
will.
that.
Yeah, I bet
No,
you will now.
I don't do that. Yeah.
So yeah, so we've spoken about some of the things that we are a bit less hot on. Yeah, I know one that we didn't get. It's before we realised that the show had stopped. Before I want us to talk about a bit about what we're liking. What had you said before? I can't remember what you said you were liking.
I said that I just enjoyed the whole like aesthetic of the game. Just like I like that it's, and it is weird because I'm not a big space guy. I'm not a big sci-fi guy, like generally speaking. But I'm enjoying it. Like I do quite enjoy hopping from planet to planet sometimes, and the change in environments and the change in civilization and stuff like that. You know, based on the planet you're on. Dialogue's great. For the most part, I'm listening to like all of it, no matter who I'm talking to. I'm thinking about my options. I like the persuasion mechanic. I think it's quite cool. A few times I've gotten a read on someone's personality and I've chose the right options based on that, you know, because to be more aggressive or to be more like, you know, nice to them or something like that. I think that's pretty well done for the most part. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but yeah, and then I was saying the gunplay is also pretty good. I did say it would be kind of cool if there was some boiled down version of like a VAT sort of system you could use. I think would be kind of cool because sometimes the combat does feel a little bit samey and a little bit just. Sometimes you are just waiting for someone to pop up so you can just shoot them. But for the most part, it feels good and it feels like the best that gunplay has ever felt. Loot seems pretty good. I've had a few legendaries. They've had some pretty cool effects. One of them was like, yeah, I just have a chance to set alight people that nearby, like based on me taking damage or something. So, like, yeah, sometimes people just catch fire around me. It's not an actual booster though. It's one of the packs that isn't a booster pack. It's like a ground pack or whatever they're called. So that was a bit annoying because obviously it's not. I don't get to
What
use
does it do?
my boosty boy. It just has a chance to set people on fire, like around me in like a close vicinity.
Oh, but it doesn't boost at all.
No, they're called ground packs. Have you not found a ground pack before?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh no, they're literally just they go on your back just like a booster, but they're called ground packs and they just don't have booster functionality. You're just a runny boy. That's it. But they still give you. They have different effects. Like they would make you more. I don't know if they have like more armor overall because you have less maneuverability or something like that. But yeah, it gives you. It goes into the same slot as a booster pack, but they're just called ground packs. So yeah, no booster. But yeah, so I found a couple legendaries. The effects seem kind of cool. I found one yesterday. It's actually only a purple, but it's really nice because it just halves all the weight of the guns in my inventory that I carry, which was just amazing. So I went from being like 100 kg to like fucking 60, and I was like, nice.
Wow, nice.
This is crispy. I'm gonna keep this on forever. But yeah, so yeah, loot seems decent for the most part, and yeah. I'm enjoying pretty much everything the game has to offer. Like, there's only a few little quirks that haven't fully reeled me in yet, but yeah.
Yeah, push through with a handful of other main missions, and I'll be interested to hear.
Yeah, I'll do that once we wrap up
how
this
you're
shitty
feeling.
podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because you just got to that point in the story, which obviously opens up some other stuff. Trying to think what I was going to say. Yeah, so this is interesting. Yeah, you said that about the combat loop. I said this last week. To me, like this is on the level of around Wolfenstein, maybe a bit below that, where it feels like it has been made first for PC, And I
Yes.
felt the way about Wolfenstein, it has like a little bit of jankiness still on the stick. It's still good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm happy playing it like this. This is good gunplay, I would say, for the most part in RPGs. Um, I can't think of an RPG with better gunplay, to be honest. Like, you know, it's obviously not up there with a Doom action shooter or you know, like a Call of
What
Duty or
about
an Apex Legends.
Cyberpunk?
Obviously, I felt Cyberpunk was about the same, maybe a bit
Okay.
worse. So it's a good that's a good point. So yeah, and then I forgot there's other things as well. Like I said, yeah, I've spec'd into lasers, so I'm like capped out on that. So I'm like setting people on fire. I don't have loads of weapons. Like I've just got a handful of small ones that I like, and I upgrade them when I can. You know, replace them. I've also spec'd out in some grenades. Love that tech. You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And the first perk in explosives gives you a throwing line, so you can see where your grenades are going if you hold down
That's
the
cool.
bumper. So I've got people like hiding behind boxes, and I'm like, nope, like throw a shrapnel grenade. Or if it's low grav, there are like mines, you know, and I like frisbee them out, like cryo mines or whatever, and they fall behind the cover,
That's kind of cool.
stuff like that. And then with some of the stuff that you've just got to in the story, I'm sure everybody in the chat has already got there, but I'm just hesitant at this point. Maybe in next week we'll be a bit more explicit.
Yeah.
There are some of them that I've got, which have been great for keeping that sort of stuff fresh. And I've had them on my quick select, so I can just swap between them when I like. And there are times where the game's felt almost a bit immersive simmy, like kind of Dishonored at times. There's a mission I'm doing now in one of the factions where this is literally a Dishonored mission, and because of the powers I have, I'm like, it's making it a lot easier, but it just feels really good.
Mm.
I'm really impressed generally by the quest variety in this game. I always liked the quest design in Bethesda games, but in this one, there's like so many structures of quests, and you know, I'd wonder if you've done any of them yet. You know, there are straight combat ones. There's like pure persuasion or negotiation type quests, or like
Yeah.
information gathering where you've got to get information. There are some which is like kind of stealthy. And then there's like loads of subcategories even within them. It's hard to summarize, but I've done so many different varieties of missions, and that's not even including like the space combat, which I thought has been really impressive. And that opens up again the further you go into the game.
Mm.
I think the sound design is pretty excellent. I think the music is really good. I think the music's up there with maybe just a little bit below Skyrim, who I think has a goated
Yeah, that's pretty good.
goated players. But so far it's been great. I love like the sci-fi aesthetic and the kind of the sci-fi mystery, like with a sprinkle of fantasy aesthetic. I love that. It's very like interstellar-y. You know, Interstellar's probably my favorite film of all time. So it's very much ticking those boxes for me. Another thing that I noticed was like a marked improvement in Starfield compared to other Bethesda games, but I just think it is good generally. Is the VA is good, the voice acting is good, but the voice direction in particular is really good. Like, you can tell the actors are being directed to emphasize particular parts of the sentence, or they'll like take a breath, or they'll like halfway through, and I don't feel like you got that stuff. Like, based on the situation they're in, they'll give you like a particular sort of tonal change, which I feel like you didn't necessarily get before. So I think that's been really good, and I guess it's worth asking actually, because people have tried to criticize the game for its, you know, the talking to NPCs and oh, they look so bad, and oh, it's so silly. What do you think? Is it silly and so bad, or is it okay? Like, where's it at with you?
I think for the most part, it's pretty excellent. Yeah, I was saying like the dialogue and voice acting and stuff like that is something I'm actually quite enjoying in this game. Even just doing side quests for like people I don't know or don't even or should even care about, I still kind of listen to what they're saying and stuff like that. And yeah, I do think the direction is pretty good. Yeah, there's definitely more like emotion and like actual thought that's gone into like the delivery of the lines compared to most other, because like sure people still do have your glazed expressions sometimes, and the eyes, you know, the classic fucking eyes, sometimes they just stare right into your soul. But I think the Bethesda games in the past had that, but then they also had flat delivery on the lines, where this just is improved on the delivery of the lines, but still occasionally has those wonky facial expressions and eyes sometimes. But like, yeah, generally, yeah, I would agree. I think the dialogue is pretty good from what I've experienced so far. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's interesting. I because yeah, the eyes thing I think is an interesting. I don't think you're wrong. I think sometimes you're like, what you're looking at? But at the same time, there's also times where like I will speak to someone, and again, like it feels like the scripting of the NPCs is so much better, and they'll be on their computer and they'll speak to me, still looking at their computer for a bit, and then they'll turn towards me, and that like I don't know. That just feels more immersive to me. It's like, yeah, people do that. Like, not everybody is like staring dead into my eyes when they're speaking
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, yeah,
And also, what I feel like people haven't picked up on is NPCs look at other NPCs now when I don't think they did before. So oftentimes, if your companion is behind you, they'll look over your shoulder to like look between you and your companion. So it's
yeah,
not always that they're just looking into your soul, even though
yeah,
that does happen sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
they're looking at other NPCs or your companions. I haven't seen anybody mention it. I just thought I'd throw it out there in case anybody had the same experience.
Yeah, no, they do, yeah, which is quite good. Yeah, when your companion sort of chimes in, yeah, they do sort of look in a different direction when they're talking to them or listening to them for what they said. Yeah, it's decent. I do find it weird when you're walking around in cities though that everyone you pass tends to look at you in some capacity. I think it's just weird. It's just like, why is everyone looking? Why does everyone have to look up from their tablet or briefcase and give me a little
Yeah,
glance as I'm
just
sprinting
tell you
by?
their life story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
like
like
what you doing?
everyone in the city stares at you when you run by them. It's just like this is kind of weird. Also, I had like the funniest glitch where the main city where you join the collective, Sarah, big up Sarah, you know, love Sarah. Um, uh, my whole city, all the NPCs just froze for like minutes,
Oh my god,
and everyone was just standing still, just doing nothing, and I was like,
that's
what's
a
going on here? And
plot point. That is.
I was like running around, I was like bumping into them, I was like trying to get any sort of interaction out of them. No one was doing anything. And then it all just clicked, and then everyone just started walking again. And it was just like, but it was like
Nice.
minutes. It was like really weird. And yeah, it was quite funny. So yeah, no, there still is some of that jank, but you expect that in a game like this, of this
I mean,
sort of
let's
this is
touch on it.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you think about bugs? You know, there's been a bit of back and forth now because obviously, you know, a lot of reviews said, oh, it's the least buggy game by a mile, and then a lot of people have been like, oh, you know, it's still kind of really buggy. You know, where are you falling on that kind of
I
spectrum?
No, I haven't. I don't think I've had any. I wouldn't say it's really buggy. I've had some funny bugs like that. And I've had like, I don't know, when I'm like in my ship, a few times I've seen someone just like walk into something and then just fucking like stand up on it and like shoot through the ceiling for like a second and then they go back down, or they're like standing on the
Yeah,
table or something like that. And yeah, you have your little jank moments like that, but like actual bugs outside of just like you had a little giggle and it broke your immersion a little bit, I haven't really had anything. I haven't really had anything that's dampened my progress, or maybe I have to load, or anything like that. So yeah, apart from a giggle here and there, like generally I've been bug free. It's been fine. Yeah.
I've had one or two things which have been quite annoying. Like it's required a load. I can't remember exactly what they were, but it has happened. Nothing like huge, but annoying enough for me to, like I said, require a load. Yeah, visual bugs are still there. You'll get stuff that will happen. It's not that often that they happen, but they do still happen. You know, you'll get some silly things. I once had Vasco on the top of my ship as I took off, and he was just stood on top of the ship, like as we took off through orbit. And then I was in space, and I could still see him. He was like a little speck, just stood there, like, Captain, please let me in. I've really made a mistake here.
Oh, that's intentional. I've
So
had that too.
yeah, it's like R2D2. Yeah, just
Yeah,
on
he
top of
loved
the ship,
it.
beeping and booping. Performance, how do you find the game feels? It's 30 frames. It was a big point of contention when that got announced. How are you finding that?
I've had some chugs. I've had some frame drops. I've had some frame skips. And almost like it hung as it like loaded a little bit or something like that, or just frames dropped as things were happening. So I wouldn't say I've been locked at 30. I've had some dips here and there. I haven't changed anything, so I don't know what mode it starts on, because there are
You
modes.
don't have modes.
Oh, okay,
No.
there are no modes. Okay, all right.
No.
So yeah, I can't say I'm locked at 30, but I'd say for the most part I'm at 30, and the speed of the game and how it plays, it's not the end of the world being at 30, or even if it dips a little bit, like I don't find it absolutely detrimental to my experience. But yeah, there's been some hitches. Yeah, I don't think they can confidently say that this is locked at 30. I don't know if that's been the same as you, but
Yeah. So yeah, I guess there's two parts of the conversation to me. Yeah, the first is the hitching. Yeah, I've had hitching as well. In particular, I will say, and I can see Tavish has said in the chat, Aquila in particular is bad. I don't know why Aquila hitches more than anywhere
that's
else.
the
The
Freestyle Collective
freestyle
one, isn't it?
city. Yeah, that place
Yeah,
hitches more than anywhere
yeah,
else for me, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's proper bad, that one. Yeah.
And I've had a few instances, I can count it on one hand, but a few instances where the game has just hung for a couple of seconds and then just comes back and everything's fine. Again, not big issues. So that's the first part of the conversation. The second part is I think the game, it's a good 30. It sounds silly, but we know id, as they do with every Bethesda game, helped out with the shooting and the feel. And as we found out later, they helped a lot with motion blur to mask the frame pacing. And that's why I think the 30 in this feels good. Like, I don't know if you ever booted up Redfall. That felt like a bad 30. When I played Control, that felt like a bad 30. This feels like a good 30. There is a difference. I know it might be splitting hairs to some people, but there is a feel there which can change depending on how well it's implemented. And here, I think it's quite good.
Did you keep motion blur on then?
Yeah, I haven't touched any of the settings.
I turn motion blur off immediately. I hate motion blur. It triggers me really.
I quite like motion blur for the most part.
No, like I was literally on it for like 2 seconds, and I like spun around, and everything was going fuzzy outside of my exact center of vision, and I was like, I can't be dealing with this. I just turned it off like immediately.
That's real life, that is.
It was quite heavy motion blur as well. You do have motion blur right now. You're a bit laggy. But yeah, no, it was quite a heavy motion blur. So I turned it off. Yeah.
Cool. So there's all of that. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I guess I haven't given my sort of summary. Are there any other, before we sort of move on from like kind of our impressions and our continued impressions, are there any other points of the game that you wanted to talk about, particularly in like a positive light? Or has that pretty much covered everything?
No, I think I've covered everything so far. Like I said, I'm not actually that, I say I'm not actually that far into it. I am 20 hours into it. Like, for some games, this is an entire game of game time. But like, yeah, I'm not that knee deep into it right now. So I think I've covered everything that I've experienced and what I like and don't really like about it. And I'm sure that's going to change over the course of the week as I play more. But no, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. So I guess my feelings last week, I think I was 20 hours in as well, and I was like, I'm really enjoying it. I was at like a 9, just to give you an idea of where I was at. In the 8 to 9 range, I would say I was last week. And like as the game goes on, I said this before while we were talking into the void when the podcast was breaking.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game, more than other Bethesda games, but maybe more than most RPGs, begs you to roleplay. Like, it wants you to look past some of the silliness and immersion in favor of look at these decisions with dialogue you can make. Look at how that's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Look at how reactive the world is. Look at the points you can make and how you can spec yourself. Look at the armor you can wear. Look at the companions you can take. It wants you to to just inhabit that character. And that's kind of what has become more and more apparent to me, and made the game really enjoyable. I'm really enveloped by it at the moment. I haven't been this like I don't feel like immersed is the right word, but for lack of a better word, immersed into a game since maybe Elden Ring, and that's as a single player game, that is. And obviously that's not even really an RPG. I can't think of the last time I maybe was this into an RPG. I liked Cyberpunk. I didn't enjoy it like I'm enjoying this. It was maybe the Outer Worlds. I just think they've done a great job overall. I do agree that there are a lot of small things that do drag the experience down, and ultimately I feel that your enjoyment mostly will come down to how much are you wanting to role play the character, and what your character will do, and what's your headcanon for them, and what will they do, and how's that going to change, and what's your tolerance to the small annoying stuff. What's your tolerance to loading screens? What's your tolerance to the lack of navigation, that the game gives you, the lack of readability? What's your tolerance to the architecture of this game and how you move around and you explore? It's quite unconventional, and if you don't like that, you might find it hard to get into it. There's a big phenomenon going around at the moment with Starfield, and I think who just wrote about it? I think it's Paul Tassi over at Forbes. Is that right? Yeah, Paul Tassi over at Forbes. Titled, "If Starfield isn't clicking for you yet, try doing these things." Because there's like this regular feeling that people like kind of like, it's fine, this is goodish, and then it kind of clicks. Things start coming together. Things start making sense. They've learned the stuff that the game hadn't told them, and the game starts feeling, oh, I'm getting it now. It's starting to roll. Yeah, I can do this and I can do that, and I think that's because of the things I mentioned. At some point, you start falling into the groove with the role playing. At some point, the navigation, and we haven't even touched on the thing that most people are complaining about, which is like local maps. There's no map for when you're for a city. You can't just see where vendors.
Yeah.
I do agree that it's an oversight, but again, it hasn't really become an issue for me, because I think, like, when I've gone to the cities, I've done a quick exploration, and I'm like, okay, the shops are there, and that's kind of all I need to know. And I also feel like you're less reliant on vendors in this game than you have been in previous BGS games, but that's a different thing. But I can agree that again, I can understand why someone would find that annoying. Oh, I want to find a gun vendor because I want to buy a gun. So if those things start to drag you out of it, I can understand that. So yeah, I'm still probably, I think I'm like solidly at 9. I'm really, really having a good time. I'm loving the way the story's unfolding. It's like giving me a glimpse into what I think New Game Plus is going to be, and I think that's really exciting. The fact that that's just dangled in front of me, at some point to do. I think I'm coming towards the maybe final third of the story. It's super exciting. Like I said, I've only just started doing the faction quests, and the faction quests have somehow been some of the best content I've done. The quest variety is amazing. I'm still coming across like new weapons. I'm liking specking into my character. Like I said, and even silly stuff. Like I'm maxed out on like lock picking, and I'm loving that. And I've got like 3 points in pickpocketing, and then I've just put a point in like bribing and negotiation. So not persuasion, but so I'm like sneaking around, taking money out of people's pockets, and then bribing them with their own money. It's fucking awesome. It's so cool.
I thought you were like a law-abiding citizen a little bit. No?
I'm like neutral, on the morality chart. I'm like neutral, maybe a bit chaotic neutral.
Okay.
I just want to get into places that I'm not allowed to be and see what I can find, and then maybe I'll do the right thing, but maybe I won't. I like robots, but maybe I do have a soft spot for some people, unless they're cowboys, and they can fuck right off.
Wow, man! Absolute character assassination to my build, my headcanon. Thanks, man.
I want to be a cowboy, babe.
I'm not a super cowboy, but yeah.
So yeah, by all means, it has clicked for me. I can understand why, and I can see Tavish has said in the chat as well. Not really understanding maybe why the beginning is slow. Again, I didn't find that, but I guess maybe slow isn't the right word. It's quite hard to sort of articulate why people might find the first 10, 15 hours a bit meh. I mean, you felt the same, didn't you, Tim? You said to me, You felt it was a bit underwhelming actually the first 5-10 hours.
Yeah.
Or maybe the first 5 hours. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say first 5+ hours were a little bit underwhelming. Yeah, I can't quite put my pin on it. I just didn't really feel like, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really feel like much was happening. And I was just jumping from point to point, picking up artifacts, and
Yeah.
that was kind of it. I just don't really feel like, yeah, anything started get like, nothing got going. Nothing jumped out at me really, to be honest. And because I was so unaware of everything going on, ship combat, all that sort of stuff, I just sort of voted to skip and just continue just jumping from planet to planet and picking up artifacts because I didn't know anything else that was going on really because it wasn't explained to me. Yeah, I didn't love the first five-ish hours, but then it's gotten gradually better, and it is getting gradually better.
And that's a common feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. But it also is a kind of, it's not, it's weird for a game to take 10+ hours to actually sort of get going in any sort of format, at least for like the general audience. I mean, I don't know where you draw your line on that, but there's got to be just not fantastic sort of game design, at least from like an early perspective. Obviously it doesn't apply to everyone, your experience was different, but I'm talking as like a general. It's very weird for a game to take 10 to 15 hours to even to like, for people to start to be like, oh, I see what's going on here. Like, that's a long time. It's quite a long time. It's like a full-length game for a lot of single player games.
Yeah, I mean, no, I get that, but I don't think like the game was never bad. Again, I didn't have that experience. I definitely felt it got better as I've kept playing, like for sure, no doubt. But most games get better as you keep playing. I mean, you know, there are exceptions to that rule, but I kind of feel like that's the case for a lot of games. You know, like I think of God of War Ragnarok, like I complained about this on the podcast frequently. Like the game has so many fucking pacing issues. You know, it's about 30 hours long. About the first 10, 15 hours, you have a 5-minute fight and then you're walking on walls, you know, you're like climbing a mountain, listening to dialogue for 20 minutes. And that's kind of how I felt with the ratio of the game was split up. And then eventually it starts coming together a bit more in the second half. Like, you know, and that's like well documented as well. A lot of people agree with that. And that game's still sitting on like 93 on OpenCritic or something, you know. If the beginning of the game was like bad, like bad, like, yeah, I'd be with you. But I think it's like, the premise is reasonably interesting. Everything seems kind of cool. You make your character, like I feel like the flow is, it's good. It's okay. It's good. You know, and then it gets better and better and better. So that's my feelings on it. But of course, yeah, if someone played the first 5 hours and they thought, God, I can't tolerate this for one more minute, this is just the worst thing I've ever done, then yeah, sure. But I don't think that's the popular, like that's not the consensus.
No. Yeah, fair play. Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, I'm feeling really good about it personally. I'm very excited by how the game is unfolding, unraveling, and I'm just kind of loving every minute I play. Like I said, going through some factions now, and I haven't even done like faction quests. I'm excited to see where that all goes. I think this is a game that time will be very kind to. There seems to be like a small, and this is kind of as we move into the general impressions from the community and stuff. There is like a small section of people that this game like seems to have like really pissed off, like it's really done something quite bad to them. Todd has personally come into their house and thrown glitter everywhere, stardust everywhere, you know.
That's rough.
And I think, you know, all the things I said before, I think somehow if this game has hit all the wrong notes for you, I think it could piss you off, because at the same time, you know, I think, like I said, there is a right way to play this game.
Yeah.
As weird as it sounds, I think there is a way, and you could make that argument for most games, I think, but there is a way to play this game which isn't conventional. And I think the people who aren't understanding that are the ones who it's upsetting the most. I guess not their fault, but it's just kind of the way it is, the architecture of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, so what's been your impression of all of this? Because I've seen It's been such a weird ride, hasn't it, since this game's been out? I don't know if you've seen, but like more reviews have come out and they continue to be like reasonably polarizing. Obviously, the aggregate is still high. The Open Critic's down to 87. On Metacritic, the PC is 87, but the Xbox is 85 on Metacritic on the Xbox version. And that's because there's been a couple more 5 out of 10s have come in, Tim.
Yeah, yeah.
There was another 6 that came in last week from a podcast who said, yeah, we played it for 5 or 6 hours, but we didn't really like it. 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Then the 4 out of 10 came in the other day as well. So the score has been butchered by outliers.
Yes.
So I mean, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, you know, and the chat as well. What are our thoughts on this? Is Starfield? Does it deserve these outliers? You know, do we think that's kind of fair? I mean, we're in opinion territory, but I guess I'm just interested to hear what everyone's thoughts are on this whole escapade and how this is continuing to unravel and the polarity of the game.
I think these weird drastic scores that they're getting, ones we expected from no doubt quite salty outlets that, for might have not got a copy or whatever, or just generally are not a huge fan of this type of game, this type of RPG or Xbox in general. I do think the game has received some unwanted hate in that regard. There's absolutely, from what I can tell, this game has to score a 7 or higher. Like, I feel like a 7 is still low, and people are being a little bit brutal and probably picking on it a little bit and blowing up the not so good parts of the game. Every game has not so good parts. Like, it's just a fact. No game is perfect, but I feel like they're blowing it up for the sake of the fact that this is such a big release, and it's, these controversial reviews and stuff like that are going to get more clicks. They're going to get more attention. They're going to get all that sort of stuff. But anything, in my eyes, the game's just not really below an 8, really. I feel like even if you're not vibing with it, you can still have a great time with this game. It's still a cool-ass fucking space shooter. Like, you can kind of be or do whatever you want. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of variety. A lot of different quest lines. There's a lot to do. And the game functions and plays pretty well. So unless you just really hate this kind of game, I can't really see it getting below like a 7, an 8 or a 7 at its harshest. So some of these 5s and 6s are just absurd. They're just absurd. I mean, fucking Redfall was getting scores around 6s and 7s, and like, Jesus Christ, that game just didn't even function in some places. I mean, to even put this game even remotely in the same sort of figure ballpark or something like that is ridiculous. Especially when that was released, it was literally being, exclaimed as being almost unplayable, and then they drop a similar number for Starfield. Makes zero sense to me. But yeah, there are some kinks to it, and it's not a perfect game, and I think a lot of people will have their own opinions on it and might give it a lower score than some other outlets. But yeah, some of the fucking 5 to 6 hours I played it gave it a 6 out of 10. That's a joke. How is a review like that even allowed to stay up? Like, that's absurd.
Yeah,
I don't even understand.
It's cracked open the whole science and philosophy, of of reviews, and having numerical scores and like that again. Like, should someone have to play beyond 5 hours to give a review score? I would argue, yes, a lot of people don't feel that way. I think you go into a Bethesda game knowing these are massive games. These are some of the biggest games ever made, ever in history. So I don't want to fucking hear that you only expected to play 5 hours and have your cock blown off. I don't want to hear that. You know what you were getting into, and I think it's disingenuous and bullshit to feel like you've gotten a rounded experience. I expect you to try and be truthful and come into this in good faith.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you've kind of done that here. It feels like you didn't like some things in the first few hours, and okay, that's fine. Some of the best games ever made have a bit of a rocky first few hours.
Yeah.
Some of them don't. I'm not going to pretend like the beginning of this game is like God of War, the first one, that fucking amazing opening. And like the first God of War for me is a 10 out of 10, like all the way through, but that opening in particular is phenomenal. And I don't
It's very
think this
good.
is that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like a good faith. What a Bethesda game, what this is. This is not a 25-hour on rails linear story game where you're being told a story, being fed it to you like an episode of TV. So, yeah, I don't subscribe to that. And I disagree that even in this sort of game, just playing the main story and just hammering through a couple of side quests is enough. Like, I want you to engage with the game's mechanics. I obviously don't truly know if someone has done that or not. A lot of the text reviews, even for some of the lower ones, feel like they're fairly well thought out. But even with a game like this, and again, this is where it gets tricky because I don't know the answer to this next bit. Like, we know the New Game Plus is a bit of a peculiar one here.
Yeah.
Do we expect people to go into New Game Plus 1 and New Game Plus 2?
Probably not.
I mean, that is a big part of the game. It's a big part of the game, but at the same time, that could be quite a demand. The thing is, as well, unfortunately, it's just like the temporal nature of reviews, right? All got to be out on launch day. People were given 2 weeks, seems like a reasonably long time, but now actually a lot of reviewers saying, "Oh, I could have done with more time." I almost wonder if there wasn't this need to get everything out on launch day for the sake of clicks, unfortunately, and people just released their reviews when they were ready to give a rounded score. Would things be going differently? It does make me wonder. When people had time to let the game breathe, fall into their character, explore New Game Plus, maybe even get to New Game Plus Plus, because some journalists out there, I haven't seen a single journalist who's in the New Game Plus and the Plus Plus and the Plus 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 say this is bad. All of them that are that far ahead are like, I've never experienced anything like this. This is mental. I still don't know what it is. Like I said, I've tried to remain spoiler free, but I think that speaks to the nature of the game and also why I originally said I think time is going to be very kind to this game.
Yeah, agreed. It's a game that doesn't hold up well with reviews, like generally speaking, like the actual structure of the game and what type of game it is. And I think that also says a lot considering that it's still a very high score, even though I do agree that the sort of structure that this game falls under isn't the review structure, so to speak. It doesn't sort of gel well with that sort of formula, and it's still reviewing very well. But yeah, I do agree. It's definitely something that it's like a wine, isn't it? It's like a fine wine. I do think it will get better with age, like generally. And Bethesda games have it's the longest legs, like probably of any games out there ever. Like, I mean, Fallout 3, 4, Skyrim, they're all still being played. Like it's crazy. I'd say as a company, they probably make the games with the longest legs. And there's no doubt, obviously, when mods start appearing for this sort of game and stuff like that, and they open up like the mod storefront and community mods and everything like that. I mean, this game's gonna just eventually it's just gonna be ridiculous. That all tied in with like you said, like all the new game plus and mechanics and stuff like that. I'm definitely very intrigued by this new game plus shit. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. It's not often I actually do new game pluses. Outside
Same.
of like outside of like Dark Souls and stuff like that. Where you would do like a new game plus and all that sort of thing. I don't tend to do it. Like, I don't tend to go back and play it. Like, I'm not going to go back and play Final Fantasy 16 again on a harder difficulty just because I have all the powers now and there's new stuff there to do. I'm not going to do that. It's a great game, loved it, but I'm not going to be doing a new game plus there. And yeah, so it's quite interesting to see what they've got here to make new game plus so enticing that people are actually just beeline story and then you get into the meat and potatoes, you know, like so
Yeah.
it's definitely very intriguing, that's for sure.
Yeah, my ears are pricked. And like I said, I'm far enough along in the story where I think I have an idea of what it is, and if I'm right, that is actually pretty crazy. That is very cool. So you know, again, I don't know.
I'm
But,
guessing like
yeah,
multiverse kind of shit, maybe.
maybe, maybe.
Hmm.
So yeah, let me quickly check my notes. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, and I will say as well, we said ages before, you know, in the run up to the game, I think a lot of our chat has said similar things before in the past. Like Starfield had a double wombo combo coming up against it because it's Xbox, if you believe in the Xbox tax, the mythical Xbox tax, and it was also Bethesda. Bethesda started to get a bit of a tax recently.
Yeah.
You know, Fallout 4 seems to have aged quite well, but generally the reception is a bit soured.
Yeah.
Fallout 76, obviously the big blunder, massive blunder, like a joke at launch. I know some people really enjoy it out there. That's fine and all, but like for the most part, that's how the perception has changed. So you have some people who I think who have been quite pissed off at Bethesda, if they weren't already pissed off at Xbox, and I think some of that has seeped into reviews. Journalistic integrity, yeah, whatever. We've had this discussion about bias before. It's implicit, not explicit. Bite me. So, unfortunately, I think when we look over at the general perception towards Starfield, it's not all good.
No.
There was a post I put up on Twitter that I saw on Reddit. Let me just have a quick look. And it was on the Starfield subreddit. And it has 2,500 upvotes, which is, you know, quite a lot. It was at the top of top of the Starfield subreddit, and it was titled "I almost skipped this game due to Reddit and YouTube reviews."
Wow. Jeez.
So I not only think that it's a bit to do with reviewers, but content creators do their own fucking thing as well. We know what they're like. As soon as there's like a window into negativity, a lot of creators will really lean into it.
Oh yeah. It's clicks, dude.
You know, and yeah, they will lean into it for clicks. For a variety of reasons, and that's, you know, you're allowed to just be tepid on the game. That's fine. I'm obviously not saying don't have your own opinion, but I think it can be a bit. It can feel a bit fake when you're telling me, "Oh, reviews don't really matter," because people. It's like, well, they do because it shapes the sentiment. It's at least one factor in shaping the sentiment of the game. And when we look back at Starfield, and even while we're in the thick of it, what do people think about Starfield? It's like positive, but it's a bit sour.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a bit of it's a bit bitter, you know. It's like, oh, it's good, but it has a lot of problems, you know, and that's like how a lot of it's being framed, and it's all adding up. So I suppose my question here is, Tim, like, do you think we said last week, is this enough? What's been your sentiment? Like, Xbox needs a well-reviewed, mass appeal game to breach into the casual audience and to be an ecosystem seller.
Yeah.
Do you think that's happened here?
Yeah. I still think it has. Yeah. I do think there is, yeah, like we said, there is negativity around there. And it has had an extremely good launch in terms of review numbers and, you know, balancing that negativity. I'd say overall it's definitely, there's no 50-50 split here between Starfield being negative and positive. I generally would say it's far more positive than it is negative. Yeah, review scores are great. Drops straight into Games Pass, looks great, plays great, all that sort of stuff. I do genuinely feel like they've done what they set out to do. And I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, right? I've been seeing some absolutely ridiculous numbers for this game. Like absolutely bonkers. So I absolutely, yeah, I think they have nailed it. 100%. I still get triggered with the comparison to No Man's Sky. And I've seen videos on it as well and stuff like that. I even saw a video, I didn't click on it, but it's just like why you should play No Man's Sky in 2023 over Starfield. And it's just like, I'm sorry, what? Like, no.
Yeah.
You're actually just mis-selling your audience right now. They're completely different games. I don't understand. Like, the only thing they have in common is space. They are set in space. That's it. That's it. Like genuinely.
Yep.
Apart from that, they could
Yep.
not be further apart, like beat wise, as like a game. But yeah, so that's super triggering.
It's a survival game, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
No Man's Sky is a survival game.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of negativity. I've seen so many viral like clips going around of like, you know, all these popular streamers playing the game and stuff like that, and they get like little bugs, you know, like someone standing on a table or some weird dialogue like clip over or something like that. And you know, and then their comments are, it's a AAA game, AAA Bethesda game, guys. You know, look at this. This guy's standing on a table, and it's just like, it's so like that's causing so much harm.
So tiring.
Yeah, but it's also causing so much harm to anyone wanting to play that game or anything, because that's that's such a fucking, it's just not even a thing. Like, why are you saying that and pointing that out as like a bad thing? Sure, someone's standing on a table, for fuck's sake. Like, and then you have a go at it for being like this unfinished AAA game. You know, you're not saying that, but you like, that's what you're implying, and it's so toxic, man. But I think all of that aside, I think generally they've hit what they set out to do. I think.
Great. Yeah, I think it's quite fascinating, and there's quite a lot of uncertainty around how this is all going to turn out, because like, to a degree, this does need to be a bit of a big break. I don't know. This Xbox stands to benefit a lot from this game, you know, if it really does the numbers, which it does look like it's doing. And you know, I will say, you know, just while we're on the conversation, I've got the numbers here. What we heard was on the morning of Starfield launch, it hit like 6 million players immediately, making it the biggest Bethesda launch full time, they said. A couple of days later, Phil Spencer tweeted that Starfield exceeded 1 million concurrent players across all platforms. It shot to number 1 on Game Pass. I checked earlier this morning; it was number 2 on the most played on Xbox Store, which is impressive. Only behind Fortnite, so it took over Call of Duty. And by the way, Siege is number 3 still. Like, what the fuck is up with that?
Yeah, Siege has got some legs.
And Roblox is number 4, and FIFA is 5. You know, it's like, yeah. So it seems to be doing very well. I will say that some of the expectations were higher than this. Like, these are great numbers. They're not gangbuster numbers. The point of comparison that I have in my head, Cyberpunk hit a concurrent user on Steam. Its highest one that it ever got was 900,000. Starfield hit 300,000 on Steam today, I think it was. Of course, Starfield, most of the gamers are probably going to be playing it on Game Pass, whether that's Windows Store or the Xbox. And again, based on what Phil said, 1 million concurrent. At the time, the highest concurrent was 200,000 on Steam, so that leaves about 800,000 either on Xbox or on the Windows Store. So, you know, we can very roughly estimate that 20% of the player base is on Steam. That makes sense. So hitting 300,000 today, we can probably times that by 5 and think that it's about 1.5 million concurrent now. Which is, again, very, very good, but it's not like explosive levels.
You've got to bear in mind it's not multi-plat as well. Like,
Yep.
I mean, it's PC, Xbox, right? But obviously, Cyberpunk being at the 900K was split over PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So
no, that was just Steam.
Oh, that was just Steam. Oh, my bad. But yeah, my point still stands.
you could make the case that it was more mainstream, because it was coming to every platform.
Yeah. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
part of this, part of my litmus test for this, to see how well a game is doing, and like, to people, are people enjoying it who don't run the fucking Xbox podcast, is our group chat.
Yeah.
Really surprisingly, you messaged one of our friends the other day who has recently reverted to being a FIFA main. We used to play Apex Legends with him all the time, to give you an idea of what his tastes are. And he hasn't been playing. We haven't really talked to him in like 6 months. He's been playing a bit of FIFA here and there. And out of nowhere, he's like addicted to Starfield.
Yeah.
He's got like the same amount of hours as me, but I've got 50 hours, by the way.
It's fucking disgusting, dude. You have a child. See your child, Dak.
Like, my time organization is incredible. You don't have a fucking clue. You'll never understand.
Yeah, you're like, what? Pop his milk in the microwave and sit down and play Starfield for 1 minute, and then it's like ultimate efficiency. Every spare second is spent on Starfield that isn't needed.
Exactly.
Nice.
I'm like, look, a bird. Kill one bandit, pause it again. Yeah, and what did you think of that? I thought that was really interesting. That because I would say he's like a core, maybe even a casual gamer at times. Like, if we're hardcore, he's like probably on the brink between a casual and a core.
He's hardcore when it hits, when he gets the game he wants. Like, I mean, he used to play as much Xbox as our other friend that's online constantly. Remember when they're both just online all day, every day, like during the day?
Yes, that's true.
So he is hardcore, but like depending on the game, yeah. And I think he's recently done like a move. Just, I think more life stuff has gotten in the way for him. But and then obviously that just, I don't know. Sometimes when you just cold turkey cut something off, it's quite hard to get back into. When other life stuff's gotten in the way. But yeah, I was quite surprised. I just saw him on it and thought I'd send him a message, but I was quite surprised that he was genuinely so hooked and so like immersed in it, and like I've dumped a ridiculous amount of time in it. Yeah, considering that he hasn't been online for more than like a few hours a week, playing FIFA or something like that over the last like 6 months. So it is quite interesting how it can pull even people like that out of their pit and just sort of out of like a gaming rut and just get them fucking right back into it. It's quite interesting. Yeah, I do think Starfield does have some sort of magic behind it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. It has the mass appealness that I keep talking about. It's space game. Do what you want. It's Bethesda. Oh, they made Skyrim. Everybody knows Skyrim.
Yeah.
And I think Tavish has made some really good points in the chat. Thanks for sticking with us, by the way, Tavish. You're a fucking legend. I'm sure Joaquin will turn up any minute. He'll wake up. Get our mod in. Made some really good points just quickly about Cyberpunk. Obviously, wasn't launching into Game Pass. He's heard, and I think I've heard this on some other podcasts too, that apparently Starfield is doing above expectations.
Okay.
So I think it's really interesting. Yeah, and like you were saying, has it breached into the casual audience? I think that's what the game needs. You look at PlayStation's, and the thing is, that's what PlayStation have excelled at, and they've managed to get the quality good as well. Yeah, Horizon. I remember when I was 19, I think I was. Maybe it was between uni. I can't remember. I was working at a cafe, and one of the guys I was speaking to, he wasn't really into games. We didn't speak about much. Like, he would talk to me about like when he played Mortal Kombat in the arcade when he was young or whatever. And one day he pulls out his phone and he's like, have you seen this? And he showed me the trailer for Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one. And he was like, this looks so cool. And I was like, I think back to that, and I think that's what Xbox needs. Xbox needs like a vision, like some of these games that just pierces through, that makes someone sees it and they think that is so cool. Because that's ultimately what gets people in the door. People see things and they go, that's cool. And unless the game like really flops, people like that are going to play the game anyway. They might buy the console if they find it that compelling. And has Starfield done that? I mean, I'm with you. I still think the answer is yes. You can give out all the fucking 4 out of 10s you want. You can give 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10s. It's already done. Because for every, like, again, if we look at the score distribution, I think the game's sitting on something like, let's have a very quick look. So at the bottom end of the chart, we've got a 4, 2 5s, a 6, 8 7s, and then everything else is above that. And the game's
Yeah.
had 125 reviews. So how many is that in total in that range? 12.
So
From
like,
there, there's 175.
oh, so only 12 have been what? Negative.
Sorry, I'll reframe it.
Yeah.
If you think 7 is negative, there are 13 reviews out of 125 that are 75 or below, or 7.5 out of 10 or below.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, the remaining 112 are 8 out of 10 or above.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's only like it's like less than 10%, isn't it? Actually giving it like below a 7.5.
And just doing some I can't count all of this, but I'm very quickly doing the napkin math. I think there's 50, maybe 40 or 50 that are 9 out of 10 or above.
Which
And
is
there are
about
20 that are perfect scores.
okay. So yeah, so about 70. So about 70 or so about 50%, 50% of the total reviews, give or take, are 9 or above.
9 or above. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's solidified at this point. Like you said, it doesn't matter. All these ones coming in, trickling in now, it just doesn't matter. You know, it might have bumped it down a couple of points, but yeah, it's just solidified as a very good game. You know, extremely well reviewed game. I think even though the number does say like 87 or 86 or whatever it's on, I think most people would look at this as a 9 out of 10 game. Like generally speaking, I think that's how
When all is said and done.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, especially when word starts to get out and, you know, people start to talk more publicly about like the whole new game plus and stuff like that. People are like, oh, okay, so it's even got like more on top of it, you know, outside of this base review score it got for its normal campaign, all that sort of stuff, you know, like yeah, I think as time goes on, you know, chips in, I think people will see this game as a 9 plus, you know, and are currently. So yeah, man. Yeah, I think generally they have done it. But yeah, it in terms of like the general appeal and people actually clicking onto it, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how with all the casual gamers general appeal and everyone pouring in, how everyone experiences that questionable opening 10 hours. You know, like arguably
Yeah, that's it.
that's a very important part of your game now, especially when you're mass appealing like this. That's quite an important part. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think generally speaking, it's nailed it. I think so.
It's interesting, and that's exactly, I think, you know, to come full circle, part of the problem. You know, if we are going to indulge that, you know, the first, I mean, Tim, I think, you know, Tim feels the same way, so I don't mean it like that, but you know, the opening hours are the weakest part of the game. I guess maybe is a fairer characterization. How's that going to sit with the casual audience? You know, our casual audience is going to play beyond 5 hours. You know, maybe they don't buy it, maybe they play it on Game Pass. So, you know, the sunk cost is less effective. You know, if you paid £60, $60 for a game back in the day, and the opening 5-10 hours were just okay, you'd push through because you spent money on it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that isn't the same here. Maybe it would still have the same effect if you've bought a subscription to play it. I've still spent 10 quid on this, $10 on this, you know, I want to try and push through. And again, like the consensus is still very high. Like, I don't think most people are finding the opening to be bad. I think they're finding it to be the weakest part of an otherwise very, very strong, very, very good game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't think it's bad either. I just think it was on the slow side. It was on the weak side. Yeah, and I think even you who said you didn't feel that, I think you can still agree that it's still the weakest part of the game. So
yeah,
I mean, I think that's just kind of.
I just think it's for different reasons. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I just think it's more that the worst of the lack of navigation and the lack of telling you what's going on happens there. Like, you start to learn more as the game unfolds. But I'm just like, what should I do? I don't want to do the main story. This is a Bethesda game. I want to go do my own thing. But what should I do? And how do I do it? Yeah. Interesting. So, because as well, obviously, the other thing we spoke about, we did touch on it a bit next week, but we've had more time with the game now. The game didn't hit 90, and it's not going to. It's not going to hit 90
No.
on OpenCritic, which is the better aggregate site.
Yes.
Does that matter?
No. I'm not going to elaborate.
Because
no.
What, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Because what do you think that the fanboy, like cultist, smooth brains are doing right now?
Jesus. What do I think they're doing right now?
Right now, yeah.
What do you mean by
Making a
fanboy
sandwich.
cultist smooth brains? What do you mean by that? Are you saying fanboys of the game, Starfield?
No.
What do you mean?
The blue ones, the ones of the blue.
Oh, I see.
Or maybe I should say the anti-green ones.
What are they doing right now?
Yeah, what's going on Twitter? You tell me what's happening. What do you think?
I think probably some nice, wholesome retweets and spreading positivity. I think.
Yeah, it's definitely that, and it's definitely not constantly posting about every single new review that comes in and cherry picking the ones that are below 7 or below. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not posting every time a Metacritic score moves by 1 point on a particular platform. It's so exhausting, Tim. Mm-hmm. I'm so sick and tired of this conversation.
Do you think they have like dedicated like groups on Discord? Like they have like a group of people in like a VC who are solely dedicated on like refreshing OpenCritic to keep an eye on if the score drops below, and then you've got other people refreshing like general like news sites for like new reviews, and then you got people that read the reviews and dissect and look for negative words. They've got like keyword searches that they use. They're just the most efficient. Yeah. I'm not a part of this Discord. Nah, not a part of it, mate.
You're the mod.
Yeah, it's Wacky Insta mod as well. I saw him in there.
Yeah, so again, for the hardcore, some people are going to think, sub 90, this is disappointing. And you could argue that's part of the conversation here. Like, there was an expectation that a new Bethesda game was going to hit 90s and above, especially considering the only one below 90 was Fallout 4. Like, this now has a lower OpenCritic than Fallout 4, and I expect it to stay that way. I still think time is going to be kind to this. I do think a lot of reviewers didn't spend enough time with the game to get a rounded impression of what the game is, like in its entirety, like the soul of the game. Again, that cracks open the philosophy of what you should do with reviews, and I'm not saying I'm right. That's just kind of how I feel about it, because we know what these games are, and I think you should know that. So overall, I agree with you, Tim. I think it's done the job it needed to do. It's had the Horizon Zero Dawn effect, where it's gotten enough people's attention. I know there are some other people that we haven't spoken to on Xbox in a while who have come back to play, like Salmon. He's hopped back on it. I haven't seen him on in months. He's come on to play it as well.
He has. Yeah.
My sister-in-law, hi, if you're listening or watching. She does sometimes. My biggest fan.
What's Beth's take on this? Because I know Beth obviously played like Cyberpunk and stuff like that. Is she looking to potentially start a playthrough on this at some point, or is it not a cup of tea?
She made a character. She's made a character, so she's done a favorite bit. But she might do. I don't think she played Skyrim for maybe 10 hours and quite liked it. I don't think she'd ever play a game like this through to completion, like how we all did when we played it, BGS games when we were younger. You just kind of did whatever you wanted for a bit and had fun with it. Yeah. I think she'll give it a go, but I do think you need a bit of gamer sense to get through Starfield. No offense, sweetheart.
Yeah, but, you probably need to sit with her for the first bit. Yeah, give her some pointers.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's my sense anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can just wander your way through it and still have a good time if you're completely new on this and you don't see the things that we see. So yeah, and like I said, yeah, my sister-in-law, she bought Game Pass Ultimate to play it on her Xbox One X, or my old Xbox One X, to stream it, because obviously it's a next gen only
And how's that
game,
experience?
which I think we forget about as well. I think she's liked it so far. I think she's been having a good time. I saw her playing it today.
The streaming experience. Yeah, I wonder how that performs. Interesting.
Well, she's still going, so that's good. But yeah,
Mm.
God, it's starting to get hot now.
It's very hot. It's very warm.
It's starting to get hot in this room. So yeah, ultimately, I still think mission accomplished, unless there is some like breakout, like unless we have another 70 reviews come in that are all like 4 out of 10 and the game gets dragged into the low 80s, that might be a cause for concern. I do think if this game starts dropping into like the 83 and below, that might be an issue.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame, because I think last week when we spoke about it, I said either reviews are going to come in quite slowly and they're going to have had a lot of time to digest the game and will give it good scores and that will bring it up, or a lot of reviewers are going to come in because they didn't get codes and they're angry, they don't really like Xbox, don't really like Bethesda, and they're angry, or they're going to have played it just for a little bit, and because they had no pressure or protected time like reviewers did with the 2 weeks in advance, they're just going to play a little bit, beeline the story, and just call it a day. And unfortunately, it's the latter that seems to be happening for the most part. I'm still seeing some perfect scores roll in, some 9 out of 10s, but there have been a number of lower, like unnecessarily cynical scores, in my opinion.
Yes.
Have your opinion. You can think my opinion on that is a bad opinion. That's fine as well. But
no, I mean, it's a 4 or 5 or even a 6 out of 10 is just, you're doing it on purpose at that point. Let's be honest. But yeah, I agree. But I don't think it's going to move. I think it's got too many reviews now that even if quite a lot of those trickled in, it's not really going to move. But yeah, props to Bethesda. You did it. Congrats, guys.
Yeah, good job. They did it. And I think that is something else we should say. There is a difference here. Like I said, there was kind of this expectation that the game would have hit 90s. Again, who really gives a fuck about that outside of the hardcore crowd? Maybe that would have been the case with a new Elder Scrolls. My expectation is that the next Elder Scrolls hits 90 or above.
Yeah.
This is a new IP. What IPs do this well? It's very rare. Literally, the last one I can think of that did this well was Horizon. That game did very, very well. Ghost of Tsushima, I think, did okay.
Elden Ring, new IP.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. But for the most part, obviously, yeah, new IPs are harder to get off the ground. So I think it's a big success.
Hard agree.
There's one thing here we haven't spoken about, Tim, and I would like to bring it up because it's come up as a frequent theme in reviews, and I'd forgotten about it. Is right. Bethesda game design dated? And does that make the game objectively worse? Have the improvements to the game, not touched that, or have they made it better? I mean, what do you think? Like, is that a valid critique to you? What do you think?
No, I don't think Bethesda game design is outdated. No, I think if anything, it's kind of one of a kind. They're kind of the only people that actually do it, and I feel like it operates its own space. Like Tavish said, it's almost like its own genre a little bit. And I think the only reason why it hasn't really been attempted outside of like Cyberpunk, I guess, really tried to go down a similar route, is because they're just so solidified in that space of just being the best in that sort of area. I guess Outer Worlds also attempted it in that sort of space, that sort of genre. No, I don't think it's outdated. I think it's you could argue the same for something like Baldur's Gate, right? Is that an outdated game design? They're CRPGs. It's a very old school type of RPG. No. The game's fucking doing insane. It's crazy. Like, I don't think there's such a thing as an outdated like game design or genre. I mean, Sea of Stars also released as like a pixel art turn-based RPG recently, really throwback to all the, that sort of RPG where it all started, Final Fantasies and all that kind of stuff. It did very well, all these sort of games. I don't think there's such a thing as outdated game design. It's just how you do it. And yeah, no, I don't think so at all.
Interesting. Those are some really good points. And I suppose it depends what element of the game you're talking about, doesn't it? Like what we talking about here? We talk about like NPC behavior. That's not really the design, is it? I don't know. I guess maybe at times it can be a bit wonky, but as I say, most Bethesda Game Studios games like are quite like, as much as they are video gamey, they are RPGs. Like they're like fairly close to a D&D game. Obviously not in the same sense that a CRPG is. This is more of an RPG, maybe even leaning into an action RPG at times. So it depends. Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think that's fair for the most part. You could argue why they're loading screens everywhere. Is that part of the way the game is designed and architected? And should that change? They simply wouldn't have been able to make this game without loading screens, just straight up.
Yeah.
Maybe the next Elder Scrolls, when we're back in Tamriel, that will be completely open world.
Maybe.
But the amount of detail that's in Starfield. Have you been to an elevator in Starfield? It's like 7 different floors half the time.
Yeah.
There's so much detail and stuff, and it's like it's a compromise of the design. So I'm with you, man. I don't feel like that's fair for the most part. Just to say it's dated and move on. Like,
Yeah.
we've got lots of games that have been using the same formula for 20 years, and
yeah.
like, do we really need to go to Call of Duty? Do we need to go to Pokemon for fuck's sake?
Yeah, and when Pokemon tries to do something new, oof, they try to go open world, and my god, did they take a hit in pretty much every area in terms of visuals, game performance, just everything. So yeah, no, yeah, I think just outdated game design's not really a thing. Nostalgia is always going to appeal to such a large audience anyway, that I feel like these sort of games, they kind of never go out of fashion. CRPGs will never go out of fashion. There'll always be a cult following and stuff like that. So yeah, for sure. And I feel like it takes away the charm a little bit if you were to just suddenly have a BGS game with all these elements and start giving it some like Call of Duty style combat. It takes away from what it is, because sometimes games take dialogue and role play and all that first over combat, and Bethesda Game Studios is one of those developers that does that. Combat is a secondary, I think, to most other elements in the game. So it's fine for it not to be perfect. They probably could make it better, but they want to improve and expand on the other areas that matter to them and to the world and to the stories they're telling and stuff like that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you say, I agree with all of that. There's always going to be an area for this sort of RPG, because the game invites you to use your imagination at times. It does. It wants you to have the headcanon. It wants you to play who you want to be and kind of inhabit that. And what are you doing? When your character's sneaking around, you're like, do you have your headcanon for that? Are you I think that's kind of the soul of what BGS games are, and good RPGs in general. It's like I say, it's not a story being delivered to you. We don't need these intricate animations and cutscenes with mocap. We don't need it. That's not to say it wouldn't be an improvement in a perfect world, because the game's inviting you to use your imagination a bit to sort of blend that together with the game. So yeah, I think it's a really good point. I don't think that's fair at times. Okay, ladies and gents, if you're still here with us, an hour and 40 minutes in, talking a lot about Starfield, we'd really
It's
appreciate a big
only
thumbs up.
Starfield so far.
Yeah. Give us a thumbs up and then check your thumb out. Is it one of the weird bendy thumbs or is it straight? Get the Punnett square out. Get your basic biology. What's that about?
I think I've got a pretty
We've
straight
got pretty
thumb.
similar thumbs.
Yeah.
Me and you. Yeah, just got a bit of a bend.
Yeah. Nice, man. Some good thumbs there.
Yeah. Yeah, some good thumbs. Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure our audience has some really good thumbs as well. And that's why they're going to just
Send us your thumb on Twitter.
and that's why they're going to send us their thumb in the mail. Slice it off. Send it to the PO box. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. Right. I'm trying to think where we should go next because it was a big discussion. And I'll be interested to speak about this as the weeks go on and see how things change. Because again, how do you move forward from Starfield? There was something we spoke about last week that I would like to touch on actually, which was like, what's next? I know that's like a pretty putrid thing to say, given we've been building up to this moment. But I guess so. Two things, I suppose. I'm just gonna write them down so I don't forget. Firstly, game of the year, Tim, and secondly, what's next? So, game of the year, particularly around Starfield. Does Starfield stand a chance of getting nominated at all for the game of the year category? I'm sure it will get nominated in some other categories, but do you think it stands a chance of being nominated for the game of the year category? There's usually like 6 slots, I think.
I think it has a chance. I'm trying to think what it would be up against.
Let me have a look on OpenCritic and tell you. Because the list is fucking endless, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot. And we still got a lot coming out as well.
2023. Okay, just reading off the top list: Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime Remastered, Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. These are all 90 so far or above. Quake 2. That was a Quake 2 remaster. Sea of Stars, 89. Hi-Fi Rush, way big ups. Dead Space, also 89. Diablo 4, 88. Vernal Edge, 88. Pikmin 4, 88. That's just the first fucking page. Final Fantasy 16, also an 88. Anything else that's standing out here? Armored Core, 85. Octopath Traveler 2, 85. Hogwarts Legacy, 84. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, 84. Yeah. Big list.
I think it has a chance, but I think it's because I mean, what is the criteria for Game of the Year? Is it solely this number, or is it like more like players and overall impressions over the course of the year and stuff like that?
There are outlets on the panel, so I can't remember how many. They are quite transparent about it on the Game Awards website. But there's like loads of outlets, so like IGN, Kind of Funny, etc., are on the panel. Okay. Like there's loads. It's like maybe 100, maybe more, and they just pick. They just give what their pick is, I'm pretty sure, and then they filter that down into what are the top 6. They're the nominations, and then what's the winner. So no, it has nothing to do with the score, and we know that because otherwise Forza Horizon 5 would have won.
I'm gonna cut this off before it gets all right. So I think obviously Baldur's Gate and Zelda are 2 guaranteed spots. I think Resi 4 is a guaranteed spot, although you're going to be like, oh, remake shouldn't be in there.
Correct.
It's going to be there. Let's be honest.
Fucking load of wank. Let's just keep remaking it. Get it another guaranteed slot in the next 10 years.
I think, dude, it's a good game. Shut up. It's like one of my game of the years. I think Street Fighter. I think Street Fighter is going to get in there. I think Street Fighter is going to get in there. Like guaranteed. And then this is where, like, the final slot or 2, I genuinely think Starfield might be able to slot in there. Like, I don't know if Dead Space is good enough to get in there. I don't think Diablo is good enough to get in there.
It's got a higher open critic review.
I know it
rating than,
does, but it's just I don't know, just the way I sort of just picture it. I don't. I would like to see Hi-Fi Rush in there, but I don't know if it's gonna. I mean, maybe. So I do think it could slot into those like final couple places, like potentially. I genuinely think that that's a bit of a free for all. And quite a few games could slot into that area. So by no means do I think it's out of the question. No.
Just to give you an idea of what happened last year, nominations were Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Stray, let's not forget about that, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, Plague Tale Requiem, and Elden Ring, with Elden Ring being the winner, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 total.
I think
interesting.
What
about Hi-Fi Rush, man?
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Kind of too many Xbox games in there though, right? I think it's good. I think it's gonna get in there. I think it's gonna be in the selection for Game of the Year. I don't think it's gonna get it, but I think it will be shortlisted. No. I ain't getting it.
Two interesting things. Tavish bet me earlier a light box, which of course he makes. You can find him on Nerd Propellant over at Twitter. Makes some delightful light boxes. Delightful, like carved out of wood, Tim.
Oh,
like
lovely.
The light shines through. They're so good. They're so good. Man's got talent.
Nice.
He bet me a light box that, what was it, will end up nominated for Game of the Year and actually has a decent chance to win due to how the process of selection have played out. I think that's mental. I think you're mental. And Tavish said, Tim, Resident Evil 4 has no chance.
Why, Tavish? Got 92. Everyone loved it. The game was everywhere. Literally anyone who played that game from start to finish could barely say a bad thing about it, including me.
Remake doesn't count.
Remakes will be ignored as is appropriate. Is that actually a thing though? Or are we wishing upon a star right now?
Because it's not an official criteria, but I think outlets might consider that as well. Like if you're an outlet and you're thinking, okay, what should we nominate? We might think, well, Resident Evil is amazing, but this is like it's already a game. Like I just think that conversation might happen within outlets. You know, like we're having now. I think they'll have the same conversation.
Maybe. I still think it gets in there. I think it was too good of a remake not to. But yeah. Oh,
I can't believe Hi-Fi Rush isn't going to get nominated.
There's a chance, but yeah, probably not. But yeah, I do think it's going to get in there as in the nominees, but I just don't think it's going to. It's not going to take it. I think. Wait, I mean, it's between Baldur's Gate and Zelda, right? Like, unless anything comes out that hits the world a bit harder than those two, which good luck.
Yeah, I mean, there are two things that might interfere with that. Forza Motorsport, but just a car game in it.
Good one, mate.
And
it's a remake.
Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2.
I did forget about Spider-Man 2. Yeah. Spider-Man 2 will be in there, I'm sure.
Which the first one, I think it was an 88?
I thought it was like a 90 or a 90.
No, 88.
Yeah.
So if Insomniac have done Insomniac things, which they usually have done, and refined that a little bit further, that could be an 89 or a 90, which it probably will be. You know, again, will that be something outlets go for? You know, is it like new IP with Starfield versus Spider-Man? I don't know. How much money did they receive from PlayStation? You know,
Yeah. All things we always need to consider internal corruption. We're
joking.
Yeah.
We're joking. Disclaimer. Although Sony have been officially sued for paying for giving reviews for paying reviewers, that is actually a fact. You can fact check that. That is a fact that you can check. They got sued for that in 2004, so it was a while back. But I'm just saying that company has been actually sued by the court of law for paying reviewers for good reviews. Just saying that is a fact.
You done?
Sorry, Tim, what were you saying? Yeah, no,
yeah. I do agree. Tavish brought up some interesting ones as well. Lies of P, Alan Wake 2, Lords of the Fallen are all going to be top quality as well. I do. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think Lords of the Fallen has like a.
Alan Wake 2.
Alan Wake 2's up there too. Yeah, but Lords of the Fallen, like that's looking like a 85 plus game. Like that's looking pretty spicy, that game. And I think people who have played it as well, like early previews and stuff, have actually said it's pretty damn good. From what I've heard. So it's generating quite a lot of positive buzz. Yeah, Lies of P looks like no joke. That game looks pretty good. And yeah, Alan Wake 2 is just so it could be pretty fuego. I say out of all of them, Lies of P's probably the one that will hit the least, I think. I know that's weird to say, but Lords of the Fallen is just giving good vibes. So
I counterpicked Lies of P, and I can't take it back.
I think Lies of P is going to be. I think Lies of P will be like an 83.
I just think high 70s, but now people are indicating that it might be really good, and
I'm going 83. Put it on record. But yeah, yeah. So I mean, the topic's getting derailed a bit, but yeah, I think Starfield has a decent chance of. It's definitely getting nominated, and that in itself means it's got a decent chance for Game of the Year, right? If you're being nominated, you've got a decent chance. You're in there. You're in the top 5. You're in the top 6. So, to answer your question, yes. No, it's not going to win it, but it has a good chance. Everything that made it to the top 6 has a good chance. You don't think it's getting nominated?
I don't think a single Xbox game is getting nominated.
Interesting.
And bear in mind, there's quite a few. There's going to be Forza, there's going to be Starfield, there's going to be Hi-Fi Rush, potentially Age of Empires 2, and Pentiment. What? Because that was after the Game Awards last year. Yep, came out in December.
So it's just an indie game, isn't it? Pentiment.
It Takes Two. What? Stray got nominated. Why are you doing this to me?
I'm just taking the piss.
Look at his fucking grin on his fucking mug.
I'm taking the piss.
To look at your giant teeth.
Oh. Oh. All right. Wow. Interesting.
If Starfield wins at the Game Awards, you both got to buy a light box. Actually, yeah.
How much are your light boxes? I'm not committing to anything. How much are your light boxes? And can you deliver to me? Where the fuck do you live?
It's in America, dude.
Yeah, if I order anything from America, that shit's not reaching me 9 times out of 10. It's gonna get holed up in fucking customs, and it's gonna have to take like 2 months to fucking release it. And then when I finally get it, it's gonna turn out battered and bruised, like someone just drop kicked it to my fucking door. And then yeah, great. Thanks for the light box. What experiences
have you had with this shit?
Not great ones.
They're so good though. They're so good. So some of the cheaper ones he does as well, to be fair, they're not light boxes, but about £70.
Yeah, so and 23 for international delivery. So we're spending like £100.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's how confident I am that Starfield isn't going to win Game of the Year. I'll do it, Tavish. This guy's a
okay. If it wins Game of the Year.
Yeah, I've literally got a son to support.
I agree. Yeah, it's not winning Game of the Year. Fine, deal. But if it doesn't win Game of the Year, you ship us one out of your own pocket.
Yeah, I'll send you my custom design that you can make. That
so it's either you get $200 from us, or we, or it's $200 out of your own pocket. It's one or the other, mate.
You don't have to do that.
You
don't
do.
have to do that. That's fine.
What? That'd be nice to him. Just because he's a viewer. Man's got to back it
The
up
best
with.
viewer.
He's got to back it up with confidence.
Yeah. Back up with your livelihood.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Fuck. What were we even talking about? Oh, game of the year. That's right. Yeah. I don't think Xbox is getting nominated for a single fucking thing. I think this is like in the last year. What's he said?
It's just through some absolute shade.
Get fucked. Get fucked. Get absolutely fucked.
What do you mean get fucked? You're part of this podcast too. It's an insult to both of us.
It's like a third person. Yeah, it was in third person. It's fine. So, from when Forza releases, when is that? October. So yeah, the year from October 2022 to October 2023 will be one of the best years Xbox has had in a long time. In terms of like quality releases, and as well in terms of probably getting people in the ecosystem because of Starfield, more than likely. It couldn't have been a worse time to do it. Couldn't have been a worse time for it to happen. I just think there's been so much noise; it's all drowned out. And like, let's not forget, a lot of people are still genuinely very angry that they've acquired Activision Blizzard.
That's true.
If that gets movement closer to the time, if that gets cleared or even blocked, like I feel like any sort of movement could work against people thinking of, like, and how they think about an Xbox game. I think it's crazy. Hi-Fi Rush is really high quality. Starfield is really high quality. Forza is likely to be really high quality. We all know Pentiment was niche, but lots of people loved it. I just don't think a single one of them is going to get nominated, man. I don't think the TGAs ever are a good place for Xbox. I'd love to be wrong, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I think we're seeing one Xbox first party in here. I think at least. I think to say that none are gonna break into it, I think that would be crazy considering how good of a year it's been. Like negative press or not from Activision Blizzard or anything like that. I think it would be just quite criminal. To be brutally honest, if not a single Xbox first party made it into the top 6 for the year, considering the year that potentially we could have. I think we'll see 1, maybe 2, but definitely 1. I think you're wrong.
Which is even crazy. No, you watched Spider-Man 2 get nominated as PlayStation's only first party release this year. Watch that get nominated over the 4 games I just listed on Xbox first party. You fucking watch it happen.
All right, okay. I'll watch it happen live with you, probably. And you'll fling around aggressively and shout, "I told you so," pointing your finger straight at me.
Yeah, I'll point it right at the camera. Like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we get it.
Cool. Well, that was a fun discussion. Yeah, we'll see. I do think that I'm hoping in 2021 Xbox had a good year, but there was a lot of nuance to that because it was like a lot of multiplayer releases. Deathloop was a good release, but exclusive to PlayStation, etc., etc. Ghostwire as well. So as a publisher, Microsoft performed very well. And they had that big thing. I think even last year they did okay, actually. And they had like the big script of like, look at all the things Xbox got nominated for. They want that again this year, and I think that will still happen. I just think for the Game of the Year category, so people just have preferences, man, and the preferences aren't the color green for the most part.
Unless it's money.
They are red and blue. Unless it's money. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. But yeah. Well, I guess only time will tell.
Only time will tell. That's true. The other thing was what's next, Tim. We said sort of because there were a couple of revelations I've had since we had this conversation last week. What's going to be the next potential zeitgeist game in the same way Starfield is. and we said probably Fable, right? Hellblade could reach that if it scores really well. You know, I think some games overperform really well, and that catches people surprised. You know, it kind of like it wins people almost. They're like, oh wow, holy shit, and that kind of the word of mouth spreads like fire.
Yeah.
I think potentially Hellblade 2 could do that if it crosses the 90s barrier and it gets a lot of eyes in it. Oh my god, this is like realistic. You know, oh my god, look how good it looks. And if the combat really shows well, I think Hellblade could.
Yeah.
Depends though.
I think there's a chance, but yeah, I'm putting my money on Fable being the next, the next big one, to take center stage. Yeah,
Which is probably like 2025, right?
yeah.
Is that an issue? Is that an issue? Do you think? Like, there's going to be 2 years until we have something like this again?
I don't think so. As long as you've got your first party releases like Hellblade 2 that might not reach those sort of levels, you've got those sort of games coming out, a couple times a year or something like that. Just because it's not this big absolute global phenomenon of a game, it doesn't mean that you're still not releasing great high quality games that are performing really well and getting great audiences and stuff like that, which I think Hellblade will fall into that category. I just don't think it's going to be quite the phenomenon that something like Starfield is. So yeah, I think it's just all about balance. There's only so many of these you can have. Like, it's just they come around only so often, and I think that's part of what makes them exciting. So
I think it's a good point. Like, no doubt these games will help the brand if they perform well. A lot. This conversation has been going around about like, oh well, Starfield save Xbox. It's like, it's never been about one good game. They need a library of attractive content, which they've been building up to for a while now. This year's been great. They haven't. Redfall is the only exception, really, since the beginning of the generation that they've released a bad game. If Hellblade 2, if Avowed, if Towerborn and Ara, if they all perform well, we cooking. Will it be a zeitgeist? Maybe not. And I suppose, it depends what we're talking about. You sort of said the word phenomenon, but like, what do we mean when we're talking? I suppose, to me, what I think of is, like I spoke about earlier, it's the piercing into the casual audience. You're seeing Starfield pop up on like news websites, on the BBC, on CNBC, what they called in America. I don't fucking know. It's turning up on like mainstream news outlets. It's such a big deal. That's how you know it's cooking.
Yeah.
So we think Fable might be that thing. The marketing budget probably has a role in that as well. But that's like a marketing push rather than a word of mouth. Does Avowed have that chance? Again,
nah.
I think if it breaks 90s or a very high 80, potentially. I do think the fetishization of hyperrealism will, for the most part, stop that happening.
Yeah.
But Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, true, but it's Nintendo. Nintendo are weird.
But that is like,
I don't know.
Xbox wants to tap into that. Like, Xbox wants to tap into a variety of audiences. And I do think if it performs really well and they market it, which is hilarious because they did such a good job with the marketing with Starfield in the end that I hope Xbox learned something from that. Like, we don't know who managed the marketing. Presumably it was a joint effort, but it felt like it was a classical Bethesda marketing campaign. I just hope Xbox takes that all on board for their Hellblade 2 and their Avowed. I think if Avowed does well and it shows up well in the next Direct or whenever we see it and everyone's like really impressed with the systems, I think maybe.
I don't think it has a chance of hitting that status, but yeah, I think it will be a fantastic game, and it's still like my most anticipated
like new IP
game. But yeah,
I think it has a chance. Like I was saying earlier with the guy I was speaking about with Horizon, I think it has a chance of having the Horizon Zero Dawn effect. The people look at this and they go, they show off some gameplay and people like pull out their phone and they're like, have you fucking seen this? Like, look at these cool spells this guy's casting. Look at this, look how cool and colorful this is. I think it could do that if it lands well. If there's enough hitches, or it's like, oh, this is looking like a a bigger Obsidian game with like Obsidian like jank still, then no. It'll be good, no doubt. Mid-80s, great. But it won't break to the casual audience. You know, somebody might try it on Game Pass, but it's not going to be like, you know, everybody in the gaming world is talking about it.
Yeah.
There's one other big question mark here, Timmy. I mentioned I've had a bit of a revelation about this. Because, of course, we're just talking about what we know, which is a bit crazy, isn't it? It's been a good year. And then the games I mentioned for next year is what we know. We've considered the possibility of an Oblivion remake. You know, that's grain of salt sort of stuff. There is one studio that two high ups have now name dropped. Phil Spencer and Todd have both said on camera how excited they are about id Studios' next project. Todd almost like got carried away, and someone off camera had to stop him because on his interview with Ryan McCaffrey, he was like, you know, working with them and seeing what they're doing next has been amazing. And they were like, and he looked off camera and he was like, no, okay, went back to the conversation. Phil name dropped it, I think, shortly after the their showcase with Giant Bomb, maybe. But he like looked at the camera and he was like, "It's the next thing." When was Doom Eternal? 2020?
2021, I think.
2020. Let's fucking go. Let's go.
I mean, really,
yeah, and it was delayed internally. I mean, really, what is time? That's why I like to hear. Starfield is time.
You're not wrong.
Starfield's my time.
Oh.
Hello? Yeah, okay. So it was delayed out of 2019, went to March 2020. So by next year, there will have been 4 years development. I think we see Doom's title next. We see id's title next year, whether that's a launch in 2024 or maybe into 2025. Because Doom was 2016, so 4-year development cycle is about right for id.
Yeah.
That could cook. Like whatever they're doing next could cook.
What do you think it is? Your gut feeling. If you had to put a guess on it.
Are you picking your lip with with tweezers right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just squeezed.
I just wanted to check.
I'm not like stabbing it.
No,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
doing a little squeeze.
Yeah. You know, actually, it reminds me. Yesterday, I had like a toothpick, and I was going fucking ham. Don't do that, please. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, I like a toothpick. I like fiddling around with a toothpick. Yeah, it's nice. Satisfying.
I was like a cowboy.
Nice.
Is that what you do when you play Starfield? And you're a freestyle collective. You're like with a little cocktail stick in your mouth.
Depends if you got the credits. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. You think about the success that Doom has had. To me, it feels like they're ready for a layup, a huge layup in the way that maybe Elden Ring was. You know, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, you know, they're up in the air, Michael Jordan, Elden Ring, and they slam it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I know what you mean. I'm picturing it. It's good.
I'm sure there's some more examples. I'd really like to give more examples in this analogy, but I can't think of any. But you know what I'm saying. Doom Eternal, Quake reboot, you know, I don't know, new IP, and it's like, you know, shatter the glass on the backboard.
I'd be disappointed if it was Quake, personally, but yeah.
Really?
Rage.
That's crazy.
Have seen maybe another Rage game. They're not touching Rage ever again.
That's a dead idea.
Yeah, the game, no, didn't do what they would have liked when they did that game.
Well, the first one was sick.
Yeah, the first one was sick, but then they rebooted it, and I don't think the hype carried it. I don't think there was actually that much hype around it in the end, and then it reviewed fine, but like, yeah, I don't think it had the fan base they were quite looking for when they did Rage 2. I'm also with you, Tavish. I would like a new IP or just another Doom or another Wolfenstein. I think Quake would be a little bit disappointing for me. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be upset, But if I've got a choice between another Doom, another Wolfenstein, or a new IP, I'd rather have any of those three. Where's Timmer when you need him? Yeah, it's true. We can summon him. Timmer, what are they working on?
I'm trying to find the scores for. I can't find it. I think I'm just getting the remakes. Anyway, we know they reviewed well. I think Eternal was a 90, wasn't it? Or maybe it dropped to 89 afterwards. But you know what I'm saying? Like these are really. And like a Doom Eternal was a zeitgeist game in my opinion. Like everyone was playing Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Yeah, 89. 204 reviews, Jesus. So yeah, I think that, and that's whatever it is, it's going to be the next big thing, and it's going to be Xbox exclusive. Like I think that has the chance to be the next big thing, whatever that is. And I think personally, that's going to be before Fable.
Yes, yeah, I think that'll be before Fable. Yeah, Fable's a long way off.
We're not even talking about things like whatever ZeniMax is working on. Did ESO capture the wider imagination? I think it did. I think it did. It's consistently one of the higher played MMOs, I think they could potentially land something there that's an ecosystem seller, which by the way, I'm coining that ecosystem seller. I think I am some sort of savant, some sort of genius for coming up with that. I think I can feel my brain like pulsing and swelling as we speak.
Wow. Really think highly of yourself.
Yeah. Like when you look at a brain, it's like really wrinkly and there's like fucking, you could stick your hand in it.
I'm aware.
It's called a gyrus.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called a gyrus. There's like
delicious those. It's Greek, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, you go. There's a bit of chicken in there, a bit of feta cheese. It's good. It's so good. I've got a gyro in my gyrus.
Nice.
I wasn't.
Get that
I did not have anything. Yeah. And then there was something else. That's it. There's another long-running franchise that Xbox, of course, has. One of their pillars. And the 6th one is going to be coming out soon. It's got to be. It's going to be announced probably next year.
Gears of War.
I'm, of course, talking about Gears of War. Does it still do it? Does it still sell systems? Ooh, tough question.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because they're going to be probably slapping a 6 at the end of it. And not many people, if they haven't played the previous ones, not many people are going to pick up a console to play the 6th game in a series. So you're probably only capturing the attention of people that already have an Xbox and or have played the previous ones, right? It's not like an entry point.
Maybe.
Right, like Starfield is like an entry point, a system seller. People pick it up.
It's a fair point.
So, no, probably not.
I think it's a fair point. It depends. I think it just depends. It depends what they're doing with the game. The story isn't playing Marcus anymore, although maybe it is. Maybe
Dominic
Gears 6
Santiago
is just like
comes back.
the Logan. Is the Logan of Gears games,
Oh yeah, that's
it's the final bang for Marcus. How sick would that be? Like that would get people back in, like people who had a 360 and have since moved out of the, moved out of the PlayStation. Moved out of the ecosystem. That would get them back in. So I think it could do it. Just depends. And also, it depends what they're doing with the gameplay. Like, frankly, if they don't make a gameplay change. No, like games, the fans will play it. I'll play it. People who play Xbox and like playing every Gears, I think they're always high quality, but no, it's not going to move people into the ecosystem. No. However, other side of the stupid gamer brain coin, Tim, it's going to look good. It's going to look real pretty. Coalition are going to fucking nail those graphics.
It's going to be Unreal Engine 6, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be, exactly.
So
there have been some rumors that the game looks fucking bonkers.
Oh yeah, they all do,
and that might be enough. Like, especially if they're leaning into open world design, which supposedly they are, in a different way to how they did it in 5. You know, maybe.
Maybe.
Just depends. Big question mark.
Stealth drop Gears in January. Nah, they ain't stealth dropping Gears. Definitely not. That shit gets marketing.
I think it's. I think I'm ready for a new Gears. You know, I think I'm like
Gears.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
I enjoy Gears. I love a co-op Gears campaign. It's fucking great. Great time.
Like cover shooting, it's delightful. I just want a bit more. Like, okay, I've done this. I've played a lot of this. Like, give me something extra. You know, let me role play a cog. You know what I mean? Make my own cog.
Make it first person. That was a joke. I was joking. I just wanted to see if you were just gonna be like,
yeah. Maybe that's its next game. It's just first person. You're playing as a locust or something.
No,
playing as General Ram.
Yeah. Oh, let's go.
Is there anything else before we move on from this conversation that chat can think of, Tim, that you can think of that might be, that hasn't been announced yet? Think of the Xbox studios that could be, and the next Zeitgeist game, the next Phenomenon game, the next thing that pierces through to the casuals, gets people in the ecosystem.
No, nothing comes to mind. I'm sure something will, but
Perfect Dark?
Nah.
You don't think?
No. What about Compulsion's new game? Wasn't everyone buzzing about that?
South of Midnight.
Yeah.
It'll be too small. It'll be a AA. Well, maybe it'll be a AAA, but I don't think it will capture. Well, why not Perfect Dark? I'm interested.
I don't fucking know anything about Perfect Dark. I'm pretty sure the majority of people don't know anything about fucking Perfect Dark. And
I think a lot of people who played games when they were younger do know what Perfect Dark is.
Yeah.
Before our time.
I don't know. I just don't think it has that level. But I mean, I could be wrong. But like I said, I just don't really know much about it. So it's coming from more of a personal viewpoint. But yeah, potentially. No, I don't think Indiana Jones either. Like,
yeah, definitely Indiana Jones.
Dick, we're talking fucking global for not. You know what? No, it's not. I just don't.
It's not not opinion. Nobody knows what Indiana Jones is. Nobody knows what that is.
But I just don't think it. I don't think it's a game that's ever going to be a system seller. Sorry, ecosystem.
Of course,
seller.
It could be. Thank you for respecting.
Oh yeah, I felt my brain go larger there as well.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
it is. It's good stuff.
I think it's a disease that spreads through like audio.
Yeah, I hope so. Hell yeah! If they nail Indiana Jones, fuck yeah, people will be talking about that.
Well, so far you've listed like 7 games as potential Zeitgeist here, Dex. So I'm starting to think your opinion's a little bit skewed.
No, because like no, I don't think Compulsion's game is going to do it. No, I don't think Undead Labs is going to do it.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of the big stuff, like id, Perfect Dark, and Indiana Jones. But Indiana Jones, I still think it's a while off. You know, obviously
you said potentially Hellblade, and then you said potentially something else as well.
Yeah, but we know about those.
You said potentially Avowed. So you got like 5 games being potential global phenomenons. I don't think so. I don't think they come around again like that.
It depends on the reception. Do they not? I mean, think about the PlayStation 4 gen. Every fucking game they put out, everybody was talking about. That's why the thing had so much
they
success.
had like 3. Yeah, they had like the Spider-Man, God of War, and Horizon. Yeah.
They had Last of Us, God of War, Last of Us 2, Ragnarok, Spider-Man. Yeah, Ghosts maybe didn't quite, but it has a good tail. Yeah, Horizon. Death Stranding, maybe not.
Yeah.
Bloodborne, you know. I think it's definitely possible. Yeah, I guess I am being liberal with it because it does depend if it's a breakout hit. You know, I mean, the way Baldur's Gate was the world really looking forward to Baldur's Gate 3, a game that's been in early access for half a decade? I don't think so. No. Did the world look when it cracked 96?
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
think that's the difference. When you look everywhere and you see 10 out of 10s everywhere, I think that makes a big difference. So I guess that's kind of what I'm leaning into.
Mm.
And I think the ones that I've highlighted, maybe not with ZeniMax, but particularly id, Perfect Dark, and whatever the
Indie.
other one was. I think that oh, maybe Indy, yeah, because Todd's leading it. Stand a good chance of getting very, very high scores. So,
Mm.
and machine games, you know. So we'll see. I think it's super interesting, and I think it definitely speaks volumes to that article we spoke about last week with Starfield being the starting gun for like this cadence. Because, like, yeah, like fucking hell, look at the games we're reeling off here. I have an interest in playing almost every single one of these games we've spoken about in the last sort of 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah. No, COD doesn't count, Tavish. COD never counts.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I hadn't even thought about if Activision Blizzard goes through. So let's move the conversation kind of away from Starfield a little bit then. I can see Tavish had mentioned Halo Tatanka, and that is something I wanted to speak about. I mean, what in terms of the next big thing, Tim, what do you think? Well, first, you know, we don't know what Tatanka is yet, but do you think that could capture a lot of people? If it's a no mess W. It's a brand new mode. It's, let's say it's a battle royale, or it's a very heavily expanded firefight or something, and it's in the Halo Infinite launcher. I don't know. People still love Halo. What do you think?
I don't know. It's tough to say. It's because these sort of things like firefight and battle royale, these sort of PvP experiences, potentially even more for PvE if it goes down the firefight route. They're really hard to predict, man, because like so many, like a few have caught fire and really caught the attention of the public eye, and they pop off. But so many have just gone to nothing and died quite quickly, or had a phase and then died off pretty quickly. So it's kind of impossible to predict. And my odds are no, I don't think it's going to. I think it might be a pretty. It could be a great game mode, a good battle royale. It could be a fad for a little bit. You know, capture a pretty large audience. But I think ultimately, I think it will probably drop off. I can't imagine it being this next, like the next big thing. Like everyone's just on Halo Tatanka. Like people dropping off Fortnite. People aren't playing Warzone anymore. People going to Tatanka. Nah, I don't. I can't. I don't know if it's just me being cynical, but I can't. I can't see that being a thing. I can see it being good. I just can't see it being that level of good, that big. So no.
Interesting. Yeah, I think actually for the most part, I think I'm with you. I think it definitely could have a lightning in a bottle moment. You know, because the game has improved so much in terms of what's available. I think that if something pulled people back, a lot of people would be like, "Oh shit, this is so much better." Building upon the gameplay that was already really really good, and look at this brand new game mode, which is so much fun. You know, if everything goes well, I don't know if that continues. I'm not sure. I do have a bit of a problem. As much as I really like Halo Infinite and I do play it, I do think I have a bit of a problem with how they keep balancing that game around fucking hyper competition.
Yeah.
I think they need to get a bit more loosey goosey with it, and that is happening with the more equipment that they add. But it's like at times it's leaning more into comp than it is to casual, and I think that's a bit of a problem. And I think that wears on people, that wears on the casual audience. I don't think you can put Halo Infinite in the hands of a regular player and get them to play that more than COD. It's
No.
very, the skill floor is quite high, to be honest. So we'll see, and it depends. If Tatanka had evolved into its kind of like a separate mode and like maybe a smaller campaign, like an ODST sized game, then yeah, maybe. But as it stands, no. And the reason we bring it up, Tim, is because Serasia, friend of the show, Serasia,
Oh, let's go.
had been data mining and found that Tatanka seems to be launchable from the Halo Infinite menu. So what I'm looking at is a bunch of code strings, and they say load category Forge, load category Academy, load category multiplayer, and then load category to tanker. Indicates two things, three things maybe. The game is launchable through Halo Infinite. Second thing, the game probably isn't running on Unreal Engine, as the previous rumor suggested. Or if it is, it's just being leveraged for the UI and the customization, like it is in Master Chief Collection. Same happens there. It's like a combination of both. And number three, it might be closer to launch than we think.
Yeah. Potentially.
It's already coded into the menu. Strikes me as a possible shadow drop, Tim.
Could be. Yeah.
Game Awards shadow drop?
I could very much see that, especially with Halo picking up some speed recently. Just another reason to come back, another reason to get people through the door. You know, capitalize on the social media presence that it has already and recently. You know, that in itself will be its advertisement, because the game's bit, you know, it's going back up. So a stealth drop will just advertise itself in that regard. Yeah, I could actually see it potentially doing that. When is Game Awards again? It's October, isn't it? Like late October.
December.
It's
beginning of
December.
December.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's October?
So yeah, I think that's interesting. You know, and something else just to top that off. Supposedly, Firefight is coming soon in the next season. I wonder if Tatanka is actually just a big expanded firefight. Maybe there are some PvP elements. Maybe it's not a battle royale with some PvE. Maybe it's a firefight with some PvP. I don't know if I'm splitting hairs there. I just wonder if actually certain Affinity has been working on this kind of expanded firefight this whole time.
Yeah, take on like Warzone. Yeah. The Halo 5 Warzone, you know, which was kind of like a morph between the two. Which a lot of people liked. I think a lot of people generally quite enjoyed Warzone, didn't they? So yeah, could be. That's for sure. But I think whatever it is, the likelihood of a stealth drop, I actually think is quite high. Scream stealth drop.
I mean, we'll see. It's just something to chew on. So that's rounded out the show for today. Wow. Hope everyone's having a good time playing Starfield. If you're stuck around this long, please don't forget to hit the like button. Maybe consider subscribing. And we'll be back next week to continue this story. And hopefully I won't be buffering so badly as I am today. But
yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, you must have changed something. But I mean, well, I don't know. I'll give my laptop a reboot and update OBS or whatever I need to do. But yeah, hopefully it hasn't been too bad. But yeah, thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for all the comments, Tavish. You know, there's some really good points brought up there, some good questions, some good conversations there. Churchy music. It's not churchy music. This is our intro. This is our podcast. This is our intro and outro. But yeah, I'm very hot. And we've been here for like 3 hours because we recorded 30 minutes in the ether earlier. So, yeah, thanks for sticking with us, guys. And yeah, have a good one.
Catch you later.
Bye.